Okay, so like I had said in a previous video, I'm going back in the car for this one. All of my previous Trails videos I did while I was sitting in my car. This is a Trails game. I had to do it. It just seemed right. Now, it is a lot warmer in my car than I thought it would be it's been like 60 degrees or whatever the fuck outside, and now I'm like, wait, this is kind of uncomfortably warm, but it is what it is. If I suffered through Kuro 2, I could suffer through talking about Kuro 2 and a slightly warmer than I expected car. Before I go into any of my specific thoughts about the game, I feel like there's quite a few things I need to say. Those kind of like housekeeping stuff. Number one, since I am back in the car and I have to actively hold my phone, I'm probably not going to do a one-take video like I normally do. I will probably like record sections at a time, stop recording like so my arm can kind of rest for a bit. So if you see like these random cuts, that's probably why they're going to happen. Maybe I can go straight through, but that's probably, oh gosh, I have no idea how long that's going to be. I want to go ahead and give myself that out just in case I take it. But more specific things about the game. It took me about 70 hours. I don't remember the exact count. It might have been like 69, it might have been like 72, but I think it was about 70 hours. I did pretty much everything. Like I played through the main story, all 9 floors of the garden. I did not do any of the post-game shit. Did all the quests, got all the fish, watched all the movies, got all the pamphlets. I didn't get all the arch drivers because there was one where it was like see all the enemies, I think on floor 2 of the garden, which I didn't do. I just skipped an enemy. I was like, I don't care enough to go do this shit again. But I did probably about 95% or so of the game's content. And like I watched all the Connect events as well. Oh, excuse me. So in terms of how much of the game I experienced, I feel like it is probably important to say that's how much I did. That's how long the game took me. In terms of difficulty, I played it on Nightmare. In terms of my familiarity with the series, I have played now every mainline game. I don't include Nayuta because I haven't played it yet, and I don't think it's a mainline game. At least it's not one yet. It is still considered like a spinoff, but one of the characters might be the Grandmaster or related to the Grandmaster. So it's probably going to be really fucking important down the road. I do plan on playing Nayuta. I just haven't done so yet. In terms of spoilers, I am assuming, and I might be making an ass out of you and me, but I am assuming if you're interested in Kuro 2 or Daybreak 2, I might go back, I might call it Daybreak 2 a couple times, but Kuro rolls off the tongue better. I'm more used to that, so I'm probably just going to keep fucking calling it Kuro. I am assuming you are caught up on the first 11, is it 11? 3, 2, 4, 1, that's 10, that's 11. Yeah, I assume you were caught up on the previous 11 games in the series. So if I want to talk about anything from FC to Kuro 1, I will spoil them wholeheartedly. Anything in Kuro 2, I will be going into full spoilers in this video, but I will try to kind of signpost when I'm doing them. If you're not familiar with how I do game reviews, I gotta talk about the presentation, then the gameplay, and I'm starting with general shit before that, but I'll go presentation, gameplay, narrative. For this one specifically, I'm just going to go chapter by chapter when talking about the narrative, and for the most part, not go into anything later in the game beyond that particular chapter. When I do make an exception, I will say, like, I'm about to spoil this part, here we go. Pretty much once I get to about the end of, I'll say this, like, once I get to about the end of the intermission, then it's probably going to be more of like, I'm just going to spoil like the entire game willy-nilly. So that is my spoiler warning going forward. So that's basically all the housekeeping stuff. But before I talk about presentation, before I talk about gameplay, before I talk about narrative, there is one aspect of the game that I need to talk about. And it is what I consider to be like the core identity of Kuro 2. The idea that it seems like the entire game, I mean, I guess not the entire game, because like Toa's new design has nothing to do with this. So like aside from the presentation aspects, but really what the game is built around is this dead end system. So for all intents and purposes, what it is you play the game and the characters do something and either the people you are playing as will die or someone that they know will die, or in very few instances, they will be severely inconvenienced. Not dying, but like, oh, we got our asses kicked and we got captured. We are now severely inconvenienced. Which causes one of the Genesis to glow, whichever one you have equipped, because all the fucking Genesis can do those. And you end up going back in time to a specific point, and the game will be like, okay, this is a dead end if you do this, and now you are given the option to do something different and change the future. I hate this. I loathe this. I despise this. It earns my ire. It earns my wrath, etc., etc. I don't like it. I'm smiling. This is not a happy smile. I wrote down, funny enough, because as I was writing my notes, like I try to number my notes, and then like if I have subnotes under, I'll use letters like A, B, C, D. Funny enough for this, it goes from A through F. The way the chapters in this game are divided is it's like chapter 1, side A, side B, stuff like that. Chapter 3 is divided into A through F. And given how much I fucking hate chapter 3, it's kind of funny that the main gimmick of chapter is like, yeah, like I could think of F amount of reasons for it. But starting with number A. Fuck. Starting with letter A. I'm probably gonna say like number A, number B. Whoops, like that's wrong. That's stupid, but I don't care. I'm going to do it. Number fucking A. The number one thing about this mechanic that I don't like is I feel like as the player, I am being punished for things outside of my control. For example, let's look at the prologue. The very first time this happens is Van and Elaine are talking to Agnes about some shit. I don't even remember specifically what it was, but like they're going to go on like a mission somewhere. And Van thinks to himself, I am specifically not going to tell Agnes because, she's in school. I think, like, she's a part-timer, and I think this is actually one of her off days. Like, she's preparing for the school festival because, of course, there's a school festival. And this is not an upset smile. I love school festivals. Like, I fucking love that chapter in FC. The shit in Thor's always brings a smile to my face. I'm like, we're doing a school festival. That gets me. That's good shit. It's like, she's working in the school festival. I don't want to disturb her. I'm just not going to tell her that I'm doing this. He and Elaine go on a mission, and they both get fucking killed by the red Grundle. Yes, I know it is Grundle. I'm saying that on purpose. They get killed by the Grundle. Then, shit activates, and he's like, should I tell Agnes or not? And now, I, as the player, have the choice to either do the thing that got him killed, or say, hey, how about you do something different? So now I say, yeah, do something different. And he's about to tell Agnes, and he's like, never mind. I really don't want to get you involved. And Agnes is like, okay, there's clearly fucking something wrong. So I'm going to call Kincaid because I've got the CID on speed dial, which makes sense in context. It's like, I got the CID on speed dial. We're going to go help you guys and make sure you don't fucking die. And now when Van is going to get attacked by the red Grundle, he's like, oh, I fucking know that attack now that I've seen it. I can defend against it. I remember playing it, and since this is the first time it happened, I wasn't sure if, like, this is how it's going to be every time, or if, like, are you not giving me a choice because you just want to show me how this shit's going to work going forward, or do I just not have choices? Because I don't like this. Because I feel like if I am dying and then you're sending me back and you keep all your XP, you keep all your Sepith, this game would be fucking unplayable if I didn't. Because it happens so many fucking times. But you keep all your shit, but I have to go back and like redo shit. Like if you're fighting, sometimes you will fight a boss, there will be a dead end or like a mini boss, and then you have to fight them again, and I feel like my time is being actively wasted. And if I'm playing a game and my time is being actively wasted because the plot had to rewind because the characters died, I feel like I'm being punished. If I'm being punished, I want it to be because of something I did. I want it to be because I made the wrong choice. Earlier this year, I read through Fate Stay Night. I loved it. I have my problems with Fate Stay Night, but overall, I fucking adore it. All 3 routes, Fate Route, Unlimited Blade Works, and Heaven's Feel, have bad endings. And honestly, the bad endings are fucking awesome. Like some of, like, Sparks Liner High is still one of my 2 favorite scenes in the entire VN, and it's arguably my favorite scene in the entire VN. It is so fucking good, and it is a bad ending. I went out of my way to get every bad ending because I wanted that part of the experience. But I had the choice to do it. If Shiro died, it was because I, as the player, gave him the bad option. And sometimes it is like, yeah, you pick something that was really fucking stupid, you died. Or you picked the option that was really cowardly. And the game doesn't like it when you're being a coward, so you died. Sometimes it's not a specific choice, but it is a series of choices. Every time you interacted with Saber, you blew her off or said something stupid and you made her mad. Your relationship isn't very good, so there is a point when the relationship is tested, you failed and you died. And it happens with Rin. Although the one with Rin has nothing actually to do with Rin. I think that one's kind of shitty. But there's one with Sakura in Heaven's Feel, and there's one with Elia in Heaven's Feel. I'm like, those make sense. This is a collection of all the choices I have made, and they were bad choices. Or this is something I specifically decided to do. It was the bad idea. I took the L for it. That's not what Kuro 2 does. Despite it being an interactive medium, all of these choices are outside of my control until a bad choice is made. And then it's like, hey, what do you, the player, want to do? This, which you know is going to fail, or this? Well, I already know at this point, like, why didn't the characters fucking do this in the first place? Which, let me bring you to my next point. It makes the Solutions Office and other characters as well, like Swen and Nadia, they look so fucking incompetent because of this game. These are characters who throughout Kuro 1 were like fighting demons, solving mysteries, doing all kinds of cool shit, fighting all kinds of cool and dangerous fucking people. And they just keep dying. It's not even like, alright, they're taking some L's. You had to get bailed out once or twice. No, you straight up died. You were shuffled off this mortal coil several times. It's like, dude, I still like these characters, but I feel like this is doing them no favors because they just look kind of useless. Like, I look at Estelle and I'm like, yeah, you know how many times Estelle died? I mean, aside from, like, gameplay fighting the worms, because the worms are ass. Like, aside from that kind of, like, in narrative, 0. What about Banning? Okay, Bannings did die once. And even then, like, I also have my problems with that narratively. I don't care for it. Like, how many times did Reen die? Actually, did Reen ever die? Crow died. I don't think Reen ever did. It's like, Reen and his crew... 0. The SSS, they've taken some L's, and then they also jobbed to Rufus, which, oh gosh, that's also fucking stupid. Like, I love this series. I genuinely adore this series. There are a lot of games that do some narrative things that I don't care for. I have made that known in the past. I feel like I owe them an apology after playing Kuro 2, but, I was just consistently thinking, like, just some of the decisions made, like, for example, like, not telling Anya. So I'm like, I don't know. Like, I get why Van is like, nah, I'm not going to tell you. Like, we're fine. We can take care of this. But also, Van feels like the kind of dude that would at least want someone to, like, I mean, I can't even say that. Because, no, I can't say that. Because I'm like, Van is the kind of guy that would want people to know where he is. But I'm like, no, he fucking wouldn't. I played the first game. Van was very constantly like, I can kind of take care of this. I don't want other people getting hurt. But at the same time, that's what his fucking character development was. That was like his thing at the end of the game, was everyone saying, don't do shit by yourself. Let us in. Let us help you. And the first fucking chance he gets, he goes, no, and he gets killed, which is kind of funny to think about. It's like he thoroughly rejected his character development, so he died. What's the moral of the story? Embrace your development. But it's the fact that it happens so often. And again, it's not just Van. Other people die too. Other people get negligent. Like Swin and Nadia, this was like, oh yeah, there's like these two really good assassins. Like they're super badass and everything. It's like, you guys fucking suck. Like your first chapter is like, we are the playable characters and we died twice. Boy, you guys, just like your performance reviews for all of you are gonna be so negative. But I don't like that. Like I had just said, it happens way too often. Like if this happened every now and then, again, like in Fate Stay Night, between all three routes, there are 40 bad endings. That's a lot. But the fact that I essentially always have the choice to determine when one's going to happen or not, it doesn't feel obnoxious and it's not grinding the pace to a halt. Here, the pace will grind to a halt. So these are two different problems. One, the pacing is complete dog shit. Because every time you're like kind of making progress, nope, gotta go back and like essentially redo the area you just did, possibly redo a fight you just did. Chapter 3 is like nothing but you're like doing a thing. Oh no, you died. Go do this shit again. Oh, okay. Well, now let me do something slightly like you're not moving forward. You move like forward a little bit, backwards quite a bit, move sideways, move forward, sideways again, back again. It's just annoying. And it happens so many times. Before the intermission, there's about, I think, 5 dead ends in between the prologue, both sides of chapter A and both sides of chapter B. I guess it's chapter 1, chapter 2, but side A and side B. My mistake. But between about 5 chapters, there's about 5 dead ends. That's not a bad average. The average is to about 1 per, although like with Swin and Nadia, it's 2 per theirs and then nothing in Van's sides because Van is apparently far more competent than they are. I'll give them that. And then you hit the intermission where there's like another 5 right there in the intermission. And then in chapter 3, which is 6 subparts, there's about, with the exception of the last one where you're actively moving forward, there's about 2 to 3 per each subsection. So you get to about 5 by the time you've gotten to the second subsection, and then it just keeps going. It's so fucking obnoxious. It's so annoying. And again, every time it happens, I'm thinking, the pacing of the game is gone. The competency of the characters is gone. I have no control over this, so I am being punished, not for my stupidity, but for the characters the fact that they keep falling for shit. It's so irritating. Here's the other 2 problems that are they're very similar. So I kind of have to talk about them together. It takes away all of the stakes of the game because there are no limits to it. It is never established that there is one specific Genesis, because there's 8 Genesis. They all kind of do separate things, but they all do the same thing. So, It's not like this Genesis is the one that lets us time travel. If this Genesis is fucked, we can't do it. Nope. All of them can do it. Okay, well, is the limit like Anya's has to be there because she's the one related to Epstein? Nope. As long as you got a Genesis, it doesn't matter where the fuck Anya's is in the world, you can do this shit. Oh, okay, well, is there a limit, like, each Genesis can only do it once, each Genesis can only do it twice? Nope, nothing like that. It does not matter. You can just keep hopping forever. So there's no stakes. Because the entire time I'm thinking, like, we can just keep doing this forever until we get it right. Which is how it feels most of the time. Like, it's not until really later in the game where they're like, okay, like, let's try and stop relying on the Genesis and let's try and not be stupid and not die. Like, that's a good idea. Maybe we should have done this at the fucking start of the game. But, there are no stakes. There are no, like, I say that about Trails. I love this series, but I talk about how there's no fucking consequences. Look at the end of Cold Steel 3. You have 4 fucking characters die. One of them, Papa al-Fayed, not an important character. Sucks that he's gone. Great shit could happen with Laura's character as a result of seeing her dad fucking explode. It doesn't. But there's potential here. Toval? Again, not a huge character, but I like Toval. He's been a bit of a presence in this arc. Like, I'd rather not see him go. Olivert, who is arguably the main character of all of Trails up to that point. He's not the main character of any particular arc, but he plays a huge role in Sky, still has a role in Crossbell, and is playing a massive role in Erebonia. His presence, his, like, impact on the series is massive, and now he's gone. And now Milliam died, like another member of Class 7. That's fucking huge. By the end of Cold Steel 4, all 4 of them are alive. Because there are no consequences. A big thing in Cold Steel 4 is Kuro is on borrowed time. He has died before. The only reason he is still alive is because of the Ritual of the 7, which, the fact that there are 7 of them and shit, I'm like, okay, how can I make this into a Grail War in my head? Okay, Valimar is the Saber. Ordine, we can say he's an assassin. I mean, the fact that, like, Kuro assassinated Osborne, like, his weapon, I think they kind of work. Which one is the archer? Testarossa, like, one of his weapons is a bow. We can make that work. Leanne, I don't remember the name of her, I really don't remember the name of a lot of the actual knights, but I'm like, Leanne's, that's the Lancer. Osborne and Ishmelga, that's the fucking Berserker. No fucking question. So that leads Zector, and I don't remember the name of Rufus's, but Rufus very much can work as like he's a spellcaster, so that one's the caster, and I guess that just means that Papa Jaeger, what is his name? Rutger, thank you. That Rutger, I guess, just gets to be the writer by default. We got a Grail War, that's pretty fucking sick. I do like the Divine Knights. I think the Divine Knight combat's, like, kind of iffy. I think it was best in Cold Steel 2, but I'm going on a tangent. A tangent within a tangent. That's fucking impressive. Take a shot. That's like a normal fucking video for me. Anyways, the point is, the only reason Kuro is here is because of this shit going on. Once this is done, he is going to die. He is on borrowed time. And that's honestly really fucking interesting. And then at the end of the game, like, no, he's fine. Like, the Divine Knights, like, gave up their, I don't even remember exactly how it was explained. I don't feel like it was pure bullshit. I feel like that's important to say. But I'm like, cool. No consequences. Got it. Fuck, like, I think I had another one. I don't remember what it was now. But it's something that does bother me about this series. Is it's not necessarily that, like, yeah, characters have to die for a story to be good. Not a lot of people die in Lord of the Rings. It's fantastic. Not a lot of people die in, like, Tales of Symphonia, one of my favorite games of all time. At least, like, not main characters, not party members and shit. You don't have to do that. But I feel like if you are going to set up these kinds of scenarios and you kill people, make it stick. Because me as, like, I as the player, I as, I guess, the media, as the audience, I think that's the right fucking term. me as an audience member goes, the stakes are real, shit is going to fucking happen. When I see the game be like, yeah, shit just happened, and then later like, nah, like they're fine, they're gonna be fine. I'm like, I don't get as invested in this shit anymore. Because I know everyone's going to be fine. They can still be really fucking interesting. They could have incredible fucking growth, which is still great. But without stakes, it feels less meaningful. The entire design of this game's narrative is that there are no stakes because you can go back as many times as you need to because there are no limits on the ability. And now Kuro 3 is fucking ruined. Because one of two things are going to happen. One, this shit state of it, fuck, I hate it so much. But just this shitty ass ability of time traveling is still going to be in the game. Meaning, we're going to get no narrative progress on all of these problems I mentioned are still going to be here. Or two, it's not going to be in there, which is great, but because there were no limits imposed, I'm going to think, why isn't it here? It's stupid. I wish it never existed. I'm glad I can enjoy my Trails game now. But since you introduced this, and by the end of the game, there's nothing that really says to me that this ability is now gone. There's maybe an argument for it, but even then I'm like, well, no, not really. It just seems like it was the Genesis doing shit on its own, and the Genesis all still have, like, juice in them, so it could theoretically still happen. So if crazy shit happens, and it's the third game in the series, I believe it's supposed to be the end of the Calvert arc, a lot of fucking crazy shit is supposed to happen. And then it's like, oh, yeah, no, we're not going to rewind over this. It's like, fucking Estelle Bright showed up and is now dead, but that's not worth a rewind, but fucking Albert and Odette dying in a... Sorry, that is a spoiler for an event that happens in the game, but also doesn't fucking matter, because it doesn't fucking matter! And then it's like them dying because of small bombs, which I laughed really, really fucking hard when they mentioned small bombs in a game where Daisuke Ono voices the main character. That got a great giggle out of me. Like, I gotta give the game props where I can. That was beautiful. It's like, so them dying, like, can get a rewind, but, like, some of the shit that might happen in Kuro 3 isn't gonna get a rewind. Like, there were no stakes here, and because there are no limits to it, it feels like there's either going to be no stakes in Kuro 3, or they're going to give stakes by ignoring this ability without giving a good, in-story reason as to why it's getting ignored. It's a lose-lose situation. This game was a lose-lose situation. It's been 30 minutes. I barely even I've scratched the surface of why I hate this game. And I hate saying that. I really do, because I love these games. Trails in the Sky SC is my favorite video game. Full stop, period. I was listening to, I think it's Whereabouts of Light on the harmonica, the fucking shit that Joshua plays. And I felt so nostalgic and so emotional immediately. And was just thinking, like, where did we go wrong? Even the games that I like, even like the other games of the series I really, 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 really like, don't hit me nearly as hard as that. I don't want to dislike these games. I really don't. Like, do I take pleasure in the fact that I'm about to just unload on this? Yes. Because it was 70 fucking hours of my life that I'm not going to get back. Like, of those 70 hours, I would say probably 25 of them were good, if I'm being generous. No, like, none of the hours of Chapter 3 were good. I'll tell you that straight up dead ass. But I know I said I was going to give myself outs and take breaks. I need to go ahead and take one. I'm feeling very emotional, feeling very angry. My cheeks are very red. It's hot in the car. I'm a little sunburned. I'm going to drink some water, and then I'm going to come back, and we're going to talk about the presentation and how they took Toa, who was already perfect, and then just made her perfect. Okay, now that we're back, fuck, it is so hot in here. Let me talk about the presentation, which is easily the part of the game where I have the least amount of bones to pick and the most amount of praise. Number one, I think the music is pretty dang good. I don't think it's as good as, like, the Sky trilogy. I don't think it's quite as good as Crossbow, but it's still pretty dang good. I didn't do any of, like, the DLC music tracks. Like, I know you can do that and get Silver Will, and I was like, that's so fucking tempting. But I did fuck with the music a little bit. I specifically had I'm Grimcats as my command battle theme in the garden, because that song is so fucking good. Like, that was one of my biggest problems with Kuro 1. It's like, you have such a banger soundtrack. This is arguably the best song in the game. Okay, the opening is probably the best song in the game. I really, really liked the opening to Kuro 1. It's like, I love that song, and it barely fucking plays. I'm gonna make sure I get my fill of Grimcats. The opening, because I while playing Kuro 1, is like, I made it a point to listen to the opening before playing the game, which I will say, this is not necessarily just a Kuro 2 complaint. This is for some other games as well, and like some Trails games that have done it. I hate when I boot up a game and it takes me to the title screen and I have to wait on the title screen before the opening plays. I want to boot up the game and play the opening. If I want to skip the opening, I can skip it. But I want it to play first, because I don't want to just sit there, wait for like 2 minutes, and then get my like minute and a half video. Like, come on. I did it for Kuro 1 because I really liked the opening. I thought the opening to Kuro 2 was okay, so I just didn't make a point to do it. I mean, it's kind of like Three Houses, because I remember Three Houses did the same thing. It's like, you had to wait for the opening. I'm like, I'm not going to, but it's great. And then with Engage, I think the opening is all right, but I didn't have to wait for it. It's like, yeah, that one I skipped. I'm not gonna lie. But, I do think the music is pretty good. The voice acting, I think, is really good. At one point, I was listening to Elaine talk. I don't remember what she said, but there was something she had said, and it was like the delivery of what she said. I was like, wait a second. I know that sass. That's Senjo Gahara. How did I not recognize that the first time? And I was like, wait, no, I didn't watch, like, I played Kuro 1, then I watched Monogatari. If I had done it backwards, I would have been like, wait, I know that fucking voice, what the hell? And then I was like, I need to look into this to check, because I also know that Senjo Gahara is the voice actress for Homura from Madoka Magica, but which, that just gets me high, because Homura is like my favorite character of all time. It's like, I didn't know that Elaine shared that voice actress. That's really cool. Then I learned that voice actress, which, like, I don't know her name, and I feel really bad for her. I want to say it's like Megumi something, but I could be completely wrong. Also voices Tamamo in Fate, which I had no idea about that. That was a huge surprise. Like, damn, that's fucking cool. But the voice acting's really good. Van is voiced by Daisuke Ono, who is probably most well known for being the voice of Jotaro Kujo. And the fact that Van has a fucking Ora S-craft, you're like, okay, like, that might have been on purpose. But his voice does not sound like Jotaro's voice. And, like, given Van's personality, I'm like, I just see him as I see him as Gintoki, who has the same voice as Joseph. I was like, maybe he should have been voiced by Sugita. Daisuke Ono does a great job, don't get me wrong. But I'm like, for the JoJo connection, maybe that one would have fit, like, a little bit better. But after hours, and I mean hours of Sea Cats, I'm like, oh, Van isn't voiced by Jotaro. He's voiced by Battler. And there's so many times when he says shit, I'm like, I'm just hearing Battler. This is great. Like, this is way better than being voiced by Jotaro. It's like, I like Jotaro, don't get me wrong. Battler's my guy. And I'm like, that's, which made the fact that there was a small bombs joke. I was like, if I had a fucking nickel for every time, nickel joke, where like every time Daisuke Ono voiced a character and there were small bombs, I would have 2 nickels. I don't think I ever heard him say, Dameda, Zen Zen Dameda. I would have, like, screamed if I did. I would have been so fucking ecstatic. Maybe he did, but I was so disconnected from the narrative that I didn't notice. That's definitely something that could have happened near the end of the game. I won't lie. But I never noticed it. But voice acting's really good. Music's really good. Just visually, I think the game does look very good. I have said before, to me, the best looking Trails games are the first 3. I love the sprite art style. I think it works really, really well. Not to say I hate the 3D models, because I don't. I don't think they look great in the first 2 Cold Steels, but I think 3 and 4, Reverie, look better. The Kuro games, I think, look better than that. I remember in Kuro 1, there was this recurring problem of the NPCs all having the same faces, which I'm pretty sure happened in the other games as well, but it felt really noticeable to me in Kuro 1, especially with like how, with like how intimate some of the, some of the requests were. I was like, oh shit, it's that same person. Oh no, that's just another NPC with their face like that. This is kind of taking me out of it. I didn't notice it as much in Kuro 2. It may still have been a problem, and it's just something I didn't notice, but I do have to say, like, I didn't notice it, so I'll give them credit for that being an improvement. I do have to say, one of my big problems with Kuro 1 is the turn order hub, the HUD for the turn order is awful in Kuro 1. I was like, I have no fucking idea where my characters are gonna go by just looking at it. And that's something I should be able to fucking do in a Trails game because turn order is really fucking important. Kuro 2 does a way better job of that. I was like, okay, I can actually tell when I'm gonna go, when the enemy is going to go. It's a little jank because, like, you're on the top row, the enemies are on the bottom row, and there's kind of like this one little spot where it's like, okay, the enemy is right about to go, but sometimes it's not. It's like they'll be in that spot, so I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna, like, this person is about to go, but then, like, I don't know if they're gonna go before my next person's gonna get to go. It kind of depended. It was a little weird. It wasn't perfect. Way better than the first game. Like, I appreciated that improvement. When it comes to new, like, outfits and shit, because it is the second game, I expect most characters to get new outfits. Most of them didn't. Anya's did, and I like the new outfit a lot. I just like the red. I think the red shirt looks really nice. I don't remember if this outfit for Ren is new, because I think in Kuro 1 we only saw the school outfit, so I think she has a new one. Reset, because there's a part in the intermission where you're on vacation. It's the intermission. It's great. Where a lot of characters is like, all right, this is their outfit, but without something, like Van without his jacket, Aaron without his jacket. Like, there's one Fairy without something. There's another version Fairy with her hood up. And that's how I had her almost the entire game. I had her with her hood up, blonde hair, so it kind of matched the hood, and like these this visor sunglasses. Like, dude, Fairy is just thugging the entire game. I love it. I thought she looked great. Elaine has a new outfit, and then her intermission outfit where she's just like not wearing the jacket. I was like, oh, well, damn. You've got Rosette with like her regular maid outfit, which I'm not really a maid outfit guy. So I'm like, it's whatever. Although I do think it's really funny. The first scene she appears in the game, she fucking like does a dynamic entry through a window, and then it like focuses on her boobs jiggling. I'm like, sure, modern Trails, do what you gotta do. And then I see her out of the maid outfit where she's just like wearing this like these white pants, this like button up shirt with a tie, and I'm like, I get it now. I was like, now I get why everyone thinks Rosette is super hot. Holy crap. Shizen has got a new outfit, and it's great. Like, I really like her jacket. It just looks nice on her. I just kind of dig it. now I have to talk about Toa. I have to talk about Toa's new design. So someone, in their infinite wisdom, decided we're going to give Toa glasses, a ponytail, and like these really tight yoga pants that she's going to wear all the time. As you may or may not know about me, I have a particular weakness for the ponytail glasses combo. One, like just girl with a ponytail, a girl with glasses. It can be very cute. It can be very pretty. I like it. But as a combo, it's deadly. As you may or may not know about me, from Cold Steel 3 onwards, had a massive crush on Toa. It was like, if I have a waifu this year, like, it's Toa. This is a woman I would want to take on just like a nice dinner. Like, what the fuck am I saying? But it's like, I have a big crush on Toa. So it's like, we're going to change her design and give her like the exact like combination of features that just activate all of my neurons. Like, okay, whoever came up with this needs a raise. Whoever came up with the dead end idea doesn't. And if they were the same person, that it was just the duality of man, we can come up with the worst ideas and the best ideas. It's great. I love Toa. She should have been in the game more if she was playable. I like would have never taken her out of the party. Just damn. I have to say it. I have to be honest. So when it comes to the presentation, like, I really have nothing bad to say. It fixed one of my problems with Kuro 1. I don't think the music is the best, but I think it's still good. Like, I don't have any points to take away from it. I think the game still looks good visually. And the few new, like, redesigns and outfits that we get, I think are nice. Like, I really like the casual outfits that you get in the intermission. I, like, honestly, like, Eren, as much as I love his jacket, because I think the white, like, the really stark white looks really good with the red hair and shit. I was like, nah, I like jacketless Eren a lot. I like jacketless Van a lot. I was like, dude, the coat's dope. I love a nice hat. I love a nice coat. Like, you are never wearing this coat again. Like, you just look so fucking chill. The presentation, I gotta give it a 5 out of 5. I have nothing bad to say about it. So, again, because it's fucking hot, I'm going to take a little bit of a break, and then we're going to move on to gameplay. Okay, we are back. It is time to move on to talking about the gameplay. And like I had said with the presentation, that was probably going to be the most positive I was going to be the entire video. Because as much as I love Trails games, as much as I love Trails game combat, I have a lot to say about this one. Number 1. I hate arts drivers. I hated them in Kuro 1. I hate them even more now. I don't know what about this game made me hate them more than the first game, because I felt like in Kuro, so the reason, let me just say this, the reason I hate arts drivers is because Trails games are all about character customization, and while there are some limitations, there's a lot of freedom in how you want to build a character. Yes, a character might say you have to have, like, I have time slots, so some of, like, you are going to have to put a, like, time sepith in me. You're gonna have to put wind sepith in me, or, like, wind quartz in me. It's like, okay, like, I get that, and, you know, you can't put, like, 2 attack 3s on the same person. You're like, okay, that kind of makes sense. There are some limitations, but there's still so much freedom. And whether it's Sky, Crossbell, or Erebonia, in all 3 arcs previous to this, you have full customization of your spell list. Whether it's, you get this spell if you have this many, like, sepith colors, and that's how you do this shit. Or if it's, like, you can just equip the spell you want, and it also, some of them come free with your Master Quartz. However you want to do it, a lot of free customization with your spell list, and I love it. This game doesn't do that. It is, you buy an arts driver. Essentially, you buy something that you plug into your Zifa, which is your new Orbiment. What were they called in Crossbow? Because I think in the first one it was just called like your Orbiment. And then in the third one it was the... Oh, fuck! I don't even remember what it was called in the third game. Oh, it was the Arcus unit, duh. It was the Arcuses, now it's the Ziphas. I really don't remember what they were called in Crossbow. But regardless, into your thingy-majig where you put all your quartz into, and it's like, cool, it generates your spells. 2 characters cannot have the same arch driver equipped. Each arch driver will be like, here's your... I don't know the exact number. I would say probably about like 5 to 6 spells. With an extra slot or 2 where you can put in, like, that's your lone bit of customization. It's like, this is the additional spells you can put in. Have fun. Boy, I hate this. I want full customization over my spell list. I don't think that's too much to ask. It wasn't in Sky. It wasn't in Crossbell. It wasn't in Cold Steel. Like, it is something that has been how the series works. If this is how it's always been, it's like, yeah, like it's, you essentially choose a list of spells for each character with a little bit of customization. But like, okay, that's kind of weird, but all right, like it is what it is, but that's not how it is. Just because something has changed, just because something has changed, just because something is different does not automatically mean it's bad. But this feels like it flies in the face of what Trails is. Character building, customization. You still get that with your ornaments and like with your Sepith and shit, like what quartz do you want to put in? It is more limited in this because like, all right, here's like your attack line, your defense line, blah, 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 which I don't hate. It very rarely is a problem for me, so I'm not really going to say any shit about that. But this to me just feels wrong. And I noticed it quite a few times while playing. I was like, man, this is a nice spell list. But it's missing like these like 2 to 3 spells that I want this character to have. But though there's like no arch driver that has like those specific degree of spells, or if there is, it's already on this character because they need it. I wish you could do this too, but I can't. And if this was a regular fucking Trails game, this wouldn't be an issue. Why is this an issue? Why are you like this, Kuro? I don't like them. Thing I don't like number 2. Field combat. In Kuro 1, I tolerated it. I was like, this is very bare bones because it's just you can attack, you can dodge, and you build up a meter for a slightly stronger attack, and like that's it. It's pretty boring. But I don't know, it's kind of nice in small doses, and some characters are kind of fun to play as. Like during chapter 5, I just like played as Rishya for a bit. It was fun to play as Rishya, just completely fuck shit up in the overworld. Oh, also, I never said this. I play most of the game on high speed mode, and so like doing the like intense combat in like super high speed mode is like actually kind of fun, but it's so mindless. Like it's fun for maybe 5 minutes at a time, and then I get bored of it. And granted, as essentially like, yeah, this combat is supposed to be long enough for you to knock the thing over so you can go into turn-based mode and get an advantage and fuck it up. Sure. But it's a whole version of combat that is so underwhelming. Excuse me, and in the first game, I gave it a pass. Is this your first time doing it? I assume that in the next game, you're gonna make it more interesting. Like, if you add arts and you add crafts and like you just make it, you have all of your tools of regular combat, but you can now do it on the field and it's not turn-based. That's really interesting. I'm still going to prefer the turn-based combat. I love turn-based combat. It's one of the things I love about Trails. But that's interesting. So now in Kuro 2, what did they add? Not crafts. They added, if you dodge at the right time, you can essentially switch to another character. They get like a slight boost. That's fine, I guess. And they also added quick arts. So every arts driver you have has one art. It's like the first thing on the list. It's like, this is your quick art. This is the one spell on this list that you can cast on the field. Oh. Can I change that? No. Oh, okay. Are any of them, like, particularly good? Okay, can I cast any of my, like, dumb fucking spells on the field? You know, like, the thing that would make me really interesting in using my arts on the field. No. It's just the quick art, which will be, like, a C tier art. Maybe a B, like, if you're lucky. Why? This isn't interesting. Like, you added something, a good job, yeah. It's, like I said, add arts. It's like, well, we added art. There's one you can cast per thing, and none of them are that great. Like, oh my gosh. Why can't I cast Pluto Nash on the field? Oh. There are a couple spells that I have specific nicknames for. I tend to do that, like, when I play video games. There's two specifically in Kuro. At least in this game, because one of them I don't think is in the last one. I think it's called Plutaris Nova. I call Pluto Nash. Plutara sounds like Pluto. Nova and Nash both start with N and are 4-letter words. So I just call it Pluto Nash. And I've never seen Pluto Nash. I have no intention of seeing Pluto Nash. I've heard it's a terrible film. But the fact that the spell called Pluto Nash is an insta-kill is pretty funny to me, considering how, like, bad the movie is. The other is a really dumb nickname. The spell is Cestus. It's either Cestus Phantasm or Cestus Phantasma. I don't remember if there's an A at the end of it or not. But my dumb monkey brain read Cestus and thought, Cestus rhyme with Festus. And I just remembered an NBA player on the 2015 Golden State Warriors on their championship run, and on the 2016 73-9 team that lost to the Cavs in the finals in a 7-game series, is named Festus Ezeli. I don't think I've thought about Festus Ezeli in like 7 years. But every time... Is that Jose? Oh yeah, I think Jose's back. Sorry, I just noticed my roommate coming back from work. But every fucking time I went to cast Cestus Phantasm, I just went, alright, we gotta cast Festus Ezeli. So shout out to Festus Ezeli. Hope he's doing great. Hope he is having his best fucking life, man. But, I want to be able to cast Festus Ezeli on the field. I want to be able to cast Pluto Nash on the field. Like, it's like, you can cast an art that's not very good. Okay, just whatever. The third thing about gameplay I have to complain about. There will be things to praise with gameplay, I promise. But there's a lot of shit I fucking hate. Is the garden. The garden is so boring. Okay, I will say, the fact that you can play as, like, basically everyone in the game is really cool. That's great, because what do you know? I like turn-based combat and being able to use all these different characters and, like, all their different craft combinations and shit, or just being able to play as Shizuna, because what a goddess. Like, Shizuna just carries the game, both in terms of gameplay and, like, narrative, just on her back. Holy shit, she's amazing. But most of the garden is like, okay, it's a random generated dungeon, which in itself is not a bad thing. I had a fucking blast in the Reverie Corridor. I guess it's like, what to me is the difference between the Reverie Corridor, Phantasma, and the garden? Because they're all very similar. It's dungeon crawling. I don't know if Phantasma is actually near it, randomly generated. That one might not be, but I know the Reverie Corridor, and like the true Reverie Corridor specifically, is the one I'm referring to. But I mean, the Reverie Corridor in Cold Steel 2 is also very fucking similar. The Reverie Corridor in Cold Steel 2 is very short. Phantasma has a lot of narrative significance. Like, it is intrinsically tied to Kevin's character. But the thing that Phantasma and the True Every Corridor have that the Garden doesn't are these character episodes. You have The Doors, Star Door 15, like, holy fucking shit. There's the Phantasmal Blaze one. Holy fucking shit. There's this one with Chloe and Lecter that is way too long, and it kind of sucks. Not everything in Phantasma's a winner, but then you've got, like, fucking Osborne and Olivert. That one's great. You've got little baby Estelle and little baby Joshua, and it's adorable. You've got Josette firing a minigun at Gilbert, and it's fun. It's a minigame. It's excellent. In Phantasma, or not Phantasma, I just said Phantasma. In the True Every Corridor, you got this one episode about Emma and Rose and Celine and Vita, like, following Emma's mom's journal and, like, one of the last missions she did. And it's really good. You got the Bright family going on vacation and, like, the weird relationship that Ren now has with Cassius, which is super fucking interesting. I'm like, oh, I love this. You've got Rishia meeting Swin and Nadia for the first time, and it's fucking gold. You have Chloe and Lecter reuniting for the first time in like 8 years or some shit, and it's really interesting. Like, there's so many of these. I'm like, I love this, and I want more of this. The Garden gives me none. It is just gameplay. And a lot of it is just field gameplay, which is not fun. Or, like, yeah, I mean, like, you can do field gameplay into your regular gameplay, which I still like, but it's just like, what is here to do besides, like, fight shit? Not much else. Okay, got it. It has a gotcha. I love gotchas. I play a lot of Fate Go. I roll a lot of gotcha in Fate Go. Xenoblade 2 has a gotcha. I liked playing it. It's not a very good gotcha. The rates are ass, but I liked it. Reverie has a gotcha, and it's great. Is this gotcha going to give me, like, character episodes? No. Oh, okay. Is it going to give me, like, cool minigames? No. No, okay. It's going to give me a lot of cosmetics. But instead of Reveries, which is just like, hey, look, you just got the cosmetic. It's like, well, you get a fragment of the cosmetic. So you have to get like 2 to 3 of these, which you can then trade in to actually get the cosmetic. Why? That's fucking stupid. Now, it's not... It's a thing where I'm like, actually playing it, it's not as bad as it sounds, because you can still get them pretty quick. But it's just like, why? Why can't I just unlock the thing once I got it? Why do I have to get multiples of the thing? This is dumb. Now, I like a lot of the cosmetics. I like a lot of just the different outfits. And a lot of, like, you can get Shizuna's outfit from Cold Steel 1. From Kuro 1. And I'm like, yeah, this is like business mode. And it's really cool. Rosette gets this one, like the Battle Maid. I'm like, damn, they fucking understood the assignment. Fairy with her hood up, which I love. I'm like, dude, she is straight thugging when she is wearing that outfit. It is great. You get these different hair colors. Like, I had pink-haired Anya's for most of the game. I thought it looked great. You've got, like, silver-haired Van, which I think looked great. I wasn't big on blue-haired Aaron. Like, I didn't really like Aaron's hair getting changed. Green-haired... So, I'm not actually sure how to pronounce Quattre's name. That's how it's spelled, but the way they say it, it's like, Katre? Like, Kateru? I'm not super sure, but Clay walked in on me playing at one point, saw the character, saw the spelling of the name, and then just went, hi, 4, because Quattro. So, the entire rest of the game, this was pretty early, in fact. I think it was in chapter 1. I've just been calling him 4. And I love it. But 4 with green hair is actually, like, it looks really sick. Sorry, like I said, it's really fucking hot. Like, I can see, like, how wet my hair is getting. So much for being fucking autumn, dude. Like, this is why I don't record in my car. This is going to be the last part of the video I record in my car. Because this is an inconvenience, and this game inconvenienced me enough. It does not deserve me inconveniencing myself further. The rest of this, I'm going to be sitting down in my room where I can be fucking comfortable. I'm still going to probably take breaks so I can put the video together, because if a part's too long, it won't want to upload properly, and it's ass, and it's annoying, just like this game was. But anyways, the garden was boring. The bosses at the end were fine. They were okay. I don't really remember any of them being like, yo, that fight was super good. I was like, yeah, it was just cool shit to fight, I guess, but There were mini games, though. I am not going to complain about the mini games in Kuro 2. The driving mini game and the intermission, I think kind of sucks. Like, I didn't super care for it. Like, the parasailing, it's just like, whatever. The, tailing people mini game is pretty fun. Especially because you'll, go to a hiding space that's, right in someone's eyesight, and they're looking right at you, and then they just don't see you. I literally, every time I went to a hiding space, just did this. Like the John C., you can't fucking see me. It was really stupid, but it made me giggle, and I needed things to make me giggle while playing this game. That minigame is fun. Playing as Theo while you're going through, vents and shit, I think is okay. The hacking minigame, that shit is fun. The level 3 one in the garden was hard as fuck. That one took me quite a few attempts. I was like, this is ass. I fucking hate it, but I got it. None of the others in the game were nearly as bad as that. That shit, that shit prepared me for life. It was great. Seventh Hearts, I think, is okay. It's really, really luck-based. There is still some strategy to it, but I don't think it's as fun as the others. It's about as fun as Blade from Cold Steel 1 and Cold Steel 2, which I think is pretty fun. I think I probably had a little bit more fun playing Blade. It's no Vantage Master. I played between 3, 4, and Reverie. I played so much fucking VM. I beat every... Fuck fighting! Oh god, what's it? Kia. I could not remember Kia's name for a second. I wanted to call her C2 because she has green hair. I'm like, that's not the C2. That's a completely different fucking franchise. Fuck Kia! That Vantage Master fight against her was so damn hard. Nothing in any of the games was as hard as that battle with Kia in Cold Steel 4. VM is so fucking fun. It's not here. There's no Palm. I love playing Palm Party. I played so much of that shit in Azure. I played so much of that shit in Cold Steel 4. I played so much of that fucking shit in Reverie. Man, my 2 favorite Trails minigames aren't here. But these other ones are pretty good. What do you mean there's basketball? What do you mean I can play basketball and I can play as fairies 4 foot and nothing and just drain threes on people's heads? Okay, this is pretty goated. I played so much of that fucking basketball minigame. I shit you not. I had a blast with it. It was awesome. Oh, they brought fishing back too. And yeah, I got all the fish. It's not the best fishing minigame. It's all right. I think it's pretty good. It's no basketball minigame. It's they understood the assignment when it came to the minigames in Kuro 2. I gotta give them that. Let's see, what else do I actually want to say? Oh, right. I have to bring this up because I don't think I've ever done this in a Trails game before. There was a point in chapter 3 where Agnes, the way I had built Agnes, she had a 100% EP cut, so all of her spells were free, which I didn't know was something you could actually do. And because at one point I was I just kind of noticed that the spells, all the spells cost 0, and I was like, wait, I'm not on a 0 arts. What the fuck? I knew I put, because I had EP cut 2, 3, and this extra one I had gotten, I think, from, an in-game achievement. I don't remember what the quest was. I was like, wait a second. How much is that cutting? 20%, 40%, 40%. 4 and 4 is 8, 8 and 2 is 10. oh my god, she has 100% EP cut. That's stupid. By the way, doesn't count with quick arts on the field. That costs EP, even though literally her spells don't. But, so at that point I was like, I'm just gonna take her EP quartzes off because she literally doesn't need them. This is funny. Like, essentially my general strategy in most fights was my starting 4 was Van to use coin bullets to be like, to evade tank, or not, he wasn't an evade tank, but like to get aggro and tank. Rosette to set up shields. Fairy would chant a flame to make sure everyone can get their CP back, and then to use the Kruga sword to like defense down, magic defense down. I almost said special defense down, but that's Pokemon. Aaron to evade tank, and Tyon kick. Like, get behind them, Tyon kick, does a lot of damage, and conceal. After a while, I would sub out Fairy to like bring in Anyas and have her start blowing shit up. Sometimes I would sub out Aaron to bring in like Judith or 4 and blow shit up. Like, Rosette would also do some blowing shit up, and then at some points, like, I would bench her. When I got to the later game, and it's like you have like basically your whole like reserves, I would bring in Ren as a reserve and start nuking people. I would bring in Shizuna. Generally, like, if somebody was stunned or there was a crit, to S-craft, and then she would just stay in the rest of the game and fuck shit up. She has an all cancel, she has a freeze, her shit always hits, she's really fast, she does a lot of damage, she was just getting CP back like every turn. Like, she is such a monster. It is so, like, Shizuna was like the MVP of every chapter. Even when I was like, I'm not using you in that many fights, but when I do, you do so much work. You just get it. Like, what the fuck? It was kind of wild. But I have to complain about shit again. This is the second Kuro game, as evidenced by the fact that it's called fucking Kuro 2. Like, no shit. The reason I bring that up is when I play the second game in a Trails series, I am expecting to see new character S-crafts, and I only saw one. Van got a new one, which is good. Like, it goes from, I can hit everybody to its single target, but does a fuck ton of damage. No one else got a new S-craft. Like, come on, man. I expect that. Also, in second games of a series, the way your orbiment tends to work is that your slots are either all opened, or they're all, like, basically opened, but you're spending a lot of Sepith to upgrade your slots, because the quartzes are now just that much stronger and more badass. That doesn't happen in this game. There is no slot upgrading, it's just slot opening. And, like, some of them are fucking expensive. And you have so many fucking characters in this game to unlock that it just feels ridiculous. I did not until like the very end of the game where I'm like, okay, I don't care about opening some of these people's slots because I'm just not using them. Shout out Swin and Nadia I did not use them. At that point, I was like, I'm just going to buy quartz for the people I want to use. I did not buy a lot of quartz. I did not synthesize a lot of quartz. It was just like, I want to save shit so I can open slots, because that's what I feel like I'm supposed to do. That's normally how I play Trails. Why? Like, it's super fucking expensive in the first game. You're like, that's the first game. And now that I'm in the sequel and I've opened all them damn slots, they should still be open, because there's like never a point, and if there was, I missed it. But I don't remember a single point in the game where it's like, okay, this is why our quartz from the last game are incompatible. This is why we got to reopen our slots. Like, we've upgraded to the new unit, and now we can upgrade slots and shit instead of just opening them. That's just not a thing in this game. I'm like, wow. You are just not capitalizing on the fact that this is a sequel in terms of gameplay. Or in terms of story, because almost nothing fucking happens. Is there anything else I want to say about the gameplay? The only thing I want to say now is just, this is going to be big spoilers, but I do want to talk about, just kind of highlight some of the bosses that I really loved. In Chapter 2, Side A, I think, Side Van, the fight with Gorin and Shizuna is amazing because it's a fight against Shizuna. The fight in the same chapter against Sao... I'm closing my eyes because like I'm getting sweat in my eyeball. It is that hot in here. Against Gorin, Sao, and Yolda, with Shizuna as a party member and Letty as a party member. Kasim's a party member in the other thing, but I don't like Kasim. I'll talk about why when I really am talking about the narrative in chapter 3, but man, I get partly the intermission too. Just some of it's like the dude himself seems pretty okay, but just some of the shit they do with him does not work for me. But that fight is awesome. In basically both the boss fights in Van or chapter 2 side Van, the fight against Shizuna in the intermission, where it specifically even tells you don't have to fight her. This is an optional as fuck fight. This will affect nothing in terms of the plot. You're gonna eat your SP. This has nothing to do with the plot. She's really fucking hard. Fight her at your own risk. The best fight in the game. It was so fun. She has Kurogane with her. Like, I feel like I should bring that up, but he doesn't really do a whole lot. He dies pretty quick. It's against Shizuna, who has a lot of health. She has like 225,000, which is basically not topped until like the penultimate boss of the game, outside of shit in the garden, until like the penultimate boss of the game, and then the final bosses. I'm like, dude, like I'm fighting the main antagonist at the end of chapter 3. Spoiler for that, I'm sorry. But like they still don't have as much health as Shizuna did. What the fuck? It's so fun. She's hard, but like I didn't die fighting her. Like, but she's difficult. I really had to try. I really had to strategize. Like, my positioning was important. My swapping people was important. What I did every turn, like, all right, I need to make sure I have my shields. She can all cancel. She's terrifying. Oh my god, that S-craft is nasty. It was so damn fun. The fight against the twins is awful because of its mechanic, where it's like, if you don't kill them at the same time, you get a dead end. Which at the very least, that's a dead end that involves the gameplay and my own decisions in the game. I will give it that. I kind of hate how I have to do it, but I will give it its credit. And beating the shit out of them is pretty fun, because they're little shitheads. I love the twins, but they're shitheads. The fight against Elroy. He's a shithead. I love this son of a bitch. Fighting him was a pain in the ass, but boy was it memorable. In chapter 3, was there a good fight in chapter 3? Like, there's a fight at the end against, like, basically, not quite, but basically Simulacrum Zin, possessed Cody, and Simulacrum Kilika, who's not actually, like, you don't hurt her. She just stands out in the corner. I'm like, bro, I've got to actually fight Kilika in, almost like Cold Steel 3, and Sky 3. Why can't she be an actual part of the fight here? This is stupid. It's okay. It's not great. The fight against the Garden Master and the Red Grundle is fine. Okay. Here's what I love about that fight, is neither of them use their S-craft. Because, like, they can S-break. Oh, I haven't talked about S-breaking. S-breaking is a mechanic where the bosses, some of them, like, how you can just be like, I would have my character S-craft and it's not their turn. Bosses can do it too. I fucking love it. I have been waiting for this to be a mechanic the entire fucking series. It puts you on edge. You don't know when this shit is fucking coming. They can fuck your shit up. Put in a pin in that, but it's awesome. These two dunderheads were getting their asses kicked so thoroughly. They would get sealed by Aaron. They would get feared by fucking Jabberwock Arm. They would get dazzled by Nebula Cannon. Nebula Cannon is so gnarly because it's just confusing people left and right. It is beautiful. They would get frozen by Shizuna. They would get stunned. They would just get killed. They never used their S-craft because I kicked their asses so thoroughly they couldn't even S-break into it. That was some satisfying shit. Let me take that pen out. The fight against Elroy and the twins is so stupid. This motherfucker. It took me 2 attempts. My first attempt, Rosette, my shield setter, didn't even get a turn before this motherfucker just said, I'm gonna S-break and kill everybody. I was like, oh, I'm just fucked. But now I know we can do that. So my second attempt, Rosette still didn't get a turn. But Agnes was like, okay, Agnes, I can't have you cast. You have to put up shields immediately. And, dude, that fight was hard. The twins are annoying. They're not, like, they can still, like, S-craft. They can buff. Like, they can do shit. They're not a problem. Like, I bullied the twins. Elroy is a menace to society, and he has like 300,000 hit points. I'm like, oh, he has so much health, and he's buffing and healing constantly, and he's poisoning him. He's such a piece of shit. I hate it. I loved it. It was fantastic. And then there's the final boss, which is... I'm going to put a pin in the final boss. Like going to like the identity and blah, 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 and like the shit it does. I will talk about that when I get to that point of the narrative. I'll save it for that. I will just go ahead and say before I leave the car for the final time in this video, I don't think I've ever seen a final boss fight with filler before. It's very emblematic of the game as a whole. I will give it that. But yeah, that was a new one. But I don't know. I think the final boss is really interesting mechanically. I don't know how much I like it. But again, I'll talk about that more when I get to it. So when it comes to gameplay as a whole, I'm very mixed. The regular turn-based combat is really fun. The minigames slap. The bosses, like, some of the bosses are just, like, very whatever. Like, most of the ones I fought in the intermission, I was like, okay, this is... Oh, it's disgusting. Most of them are just, like, Basically, all of them in Chapter 3 were just, But the good ones are really fucking good. Like, there are some all-timers in this game. The Shizuna fight in the intermission, and I think the Elroy and the twins fighters, like, these are some all-timers for the series. Hell, I would even say the Goran, Sao, and Yolda fight. I wouldn't put in, like, my top 5. It's probably not top 10. It's easily, like, a top 15 boss in the series. It's really fun. But the garden, I felt like the garden was a waste of time. In terms of, like, how much fun I was getting out of it. I'm like, this is how I'm getting a lot of Sepith, which is fucking expensive for no good reason, so I have to do it. It gives me, like, levels and shit that I kind of need, so I have to do it, even though it's not that fun. The field combat sucks. The arch driver situation sucks. The Sepith situation sucks. I'm kind of right down the middle on it. I feel like I have to give it a 2.5. I'm almost leaning more toward just giving it a fucking 2. I am leaning more towards giving it a 2. You know what? I am. I'm going to give it a 2. The reason I'm going to take that extra point off is because, like I said earlier, the fact that I don't get decisions for a lot of these dead ends, and that they're not actually worked into the gameplay. I gave one example where it was with the Yolda Ixis thing, where, like, you have to kill them together. If not, they dead end you. That's, like, the only one. I have another example I can give that I'm going to give when I get to that part in the narrative of one with Kasim that I think could have worked brilliantly, and it could have made, like, an all-time fucking boss fight as a result. Instead, I think it's just terrible writing. Which, I'm going to talk a lot about that later. So, gameplay, I have to give it like a 2 out of 5. Okay, so, like I said, it's way too hot in my car. My hand was starting to hurt. And I don't want this game to inconvenience me anymore. So for the rest of this, I am going to be sitting here. I am probably going to keep segmenting it. Again, if I have a part that's like way too long recorded, there ends up being a problem when I compile them all together because my technology is jank as hell. So I think I'm going to try to do is all like the chapters before the intermission, oh hi Bahamut, chapter 3, and then the finale. And then hopefully I can put it all together and there won't be any problems. No way in hell is that coming out tonight. Hopefully tomorrow. Maybe. I mean, hopefully it should be sometime this week. We will see. But starting with the narrative. I guess technically I should start with the prologue, but I genuinely don't remember what happened in the prologue. Aside from what I had mentioned earlier, where Van and Elaine go to investigate some shit, the Red Grundle shows up, they fucking die, do it again, Agnes and Kincaid are there, and then they stop it, and then Swen and Nadia show up, kind of help out, and that's basically it. So essentially, Chapter 1 is Side A, which is Van's section. He is going to Messeldom, I believe, because there's something about like the legacy of A, and that he doesn't really know what the fuck that is. Like, it sounds like something I need to investigate. So he goes and he brings Judith and 4. Judith is there recording a movie. 4 is, I don't really know why he was brought for that mission specifically, but he does some help on the movie set. You go, you do some side quests. There's one side quest with this girl named Kisara, who's like a graffiti artist, who actually keeps showing up throughout the game. I can't remember the name of the Northumbrian girl from Crossbell. It's bothering me. But, because I remember in 0, you help Elia with a quest, and it involves that character. And then from that point onward, she becomes a recurring character. I don't think she's super important in Azure, but she has a presence in Azure. She has a bit of a presence in Reverie too, as another member of Arkansas. Again, like, I feel really bad that I don't remember her name, but I have her face in my head. Kisara's kind of like that, where how she just keeps showing up, and I'm like, and then she ends up in Aramis at the end of the story. And that's kind of a minor spoiler, but I did spoil it, I apologize. There's a non-zero chance she'll be like another major, maybe not major, but she'll probably be a recurring character in Kuro 3. Yeah, I thought she was kind of cool. But while investigating A's legacy and not knowing what it is, they get involved with Zect Arms, and this, I don't remember what her name was, and I didn't care, but like the chief of Zect Arms, who's this over the top, I want to say hilariously horrible person, but I just didn't find her that funny. I just kind of felt like every time she was on screen, I was just getting a little bit annoyed, and it was fine. And then after all that shit, the Dominions end up showing up. So Celis and Rion. Okay, so I believe his name is actually Leon, but the way it is spelled in-game is Rion, R-I-O-N. So I will be calling him that. Possibly once Kuro 1, or I guess at that point Daybreak 1 comes out, he is Leon. I might get more used to it, but for now it's Celis and Rion. They end up joining because they're like, we don't know what the fuck this A legacy thing is, and if it's an artifact, it's Dominions, we kind of got to take care of that. Makes a lot of sense. But you work with them, you end up finding out what it is, and it is a fragment of a Genesis, of the 8th Genesis. We're not even dealing with a whole Genesis because we gotta pad out the game, because that's... Sorry, this game just feels like it's padding incarnate. And so anytime it kind of shows up in the game, I'm going to call it out. But you do that, and then there's this kid you've been interacting with named Luca, and it turns out that Luca is not Luca. He's this little shithead... I think I got an accent there for a second. But he's this shithead named Ixis. Like, I-X-S. So you end up fighting Ixis, who kills a dude. Genesis doesn't activate there, so that guy was completely fine to die, I guess. But he fucking dies. Ixis fucks off. And then the Dominions are like, cool, that's not an artifact, that's a Genesis. You guys can keep that. We'll see you in the intermission. And then they, like, disappear, and that's basically the end of the chapter. Oh, there is another thing that happens in the chapter. You meet Dominique, who I do not believe showed up in the first game. Dominique is Judith's grandma. So she is Grimcat's number 1, with Mommy being number 2. I don't think you meet her mom in the first game, and you don't meet her in this game either. And Judith is Grimcat's number 3. You get to meet her, and she's really fucking cool. There's a scene where, like, the Zect Arms lady, like, sends some of her droogs to do something, and Dominique just has, like, a fucking missile launcher. I'm like, okay. Can you be a party member? It's like, in no way do I mean that to slight Judith. I love Judith. But Dominique is really fucking cool. And, that's really all there is to say about this chapter. Like, even in terms of, like, your squad's character, there's not really much to write home about in this one. Again, I like Judith a lot. I like 4. They're not really doing anything. They're just kind of chilling. Why are you mean mugging me, Bahamut? Do you want to be in the video? You can be in the video, dude. Go. Is that all I have to say? That's really all I have to say about that one. It's fine. I didn't play it and was like, dude, this is such a good chapter. I was like, it's fine. For the second game in an arc, I'm kind of expecting something a little stronger, but it's not bad by any means. Like, Kuro 1 got off to such a great start. The prologue does a really good job of introducing Van, Anyas, and the general vibe that Kuro was going to have. Chapter 1 is pretty good overall. The ending is fan-fucking-tastic with like what it does with Fairy's character and Van killing Ada. Chapter 2, the Aaron chapter, phenomenal. I think it's fan-fucking-tastic. And then you get Chapter 3, the Tharbad Music Festival. I don't think it's quite as good as Chapter 2, but I do think it's really fucking good, and it's super fun. Chapter 4, I think, is okay. The Intermission slaps. Chapter 5, I think, is an all-timer, and I've got... Bahamut, I can't tell if he's actually blocking the screen, but I can't see me, so I can only imagine that my cat is possibly blocking the screen. But I don't see his reflection, so I'm gonna keep going and just assume he's not blocking the screen. Oh, I do see the phone slipping a little bit. There we go. Okay. Anyways, Kuro 1, for the most part, I think his chapters are fan-fucking-tastic. So the fact that the first real chapter in this was okay, it wasn't a great impression, but it wasn't like, oh man, this was awful or anything. It was like, hopefully this is going to start getting really, really good. Chapter 1, side Swin and Nadia, is they're hanging out with Elaine. Okay, so they're hanging out in town while Van is doing stuff in other places in, I'm saying Crossbell, in Calvard. Swin and Nadia are holding down the fort in the capital and doing quests and shit. They also have their own story that they're doing that I don't remember if they said it at this point, because I don't think they said it till the end of the chapter. So I'll put a quick pin in there. Essentially, their main quest is there's some weird shit going on, like with the internet, with the Orbalnet, I think is what they tend to call it. And they're kind of investigating it, and you are introduced to Toa and her gorgeous new design. It's like, I talked about it enough in the presentation, but I love what they did with Toa, and I already love Toa. Now I just love her more, and she's perfect, and she's perfecter. Anyways, point. You're investigating shit relating to the internet. You go to the Dark Light district, Dark Light town, investigate some shit, and then you fucking die because you're just like fighting infinitely spawning enemies. I hated these things so much throughout the game, the demi-grundles. I just fucking hated them. They're really strong, they're really fast, they're pretty damn tanky, and they're just gonna fuck my shit up. Hated them. Anyways, you try to deal with them, die, and then Elaine's like, oh shit, maybe I should have called backup. Let me call Zin. So Zin shows up as an NPC party member, because Kuro does that a lot, and I don't particularly like it. Like, if there's these cool people joining the party, like Walter, Zin, Letty, and I'm like, I would have loved to have played as them in the last game rather than just kind of being there. And then this game doesn't really fix that. But it is what it is, I guess. So you go back to the thing, you die again because no one thought to just attack the giant ominous tower. So then you hang out with Walter, and then she calls Zin. So Zin and Walter are doing shit. They're like, hey, Walter's like, let's just fucking attack the tower. Also, Walter's like, okay, these assholes keep getting up. Oh no, they're real people. And he's like, okay, just beat the shit out of them until they can't move. Duh. Like, Walter, I never thought I would say this after playing SC or the third, but I think I missed you. Like, you've grown on me kind of quite a bit, you piece of shit. Like, the fact that Van in the entire last game hated this man, and for a long time you don't know why. It's just like, Walter did something bad, and it's like, yeah, he threw Van's car at a mech, and Van is on site is really funny. Like, and Walter's relationship with Red, and how he's like, yeah, like, I am willing to work with Zin to help her because she's like a little sister to me, and that girl deserves nothing but happiness. Like, that was wonderful. I liked that a lot. Me and you, Walter, like, we're good. We're good now. And, when Swen and Nadia are, like, doing their shit, and there's the giant tower, there's a fairy girl, a red fairy, who showed up with the red grundle, and her name is Altera, like, altered. And they're like, you're Lapis. And she's like, no, I'm not Lapis. Yeah, you're Lapis. Because Lapis disappeared, and we don't know where the fuck she is, but, like, your technology and, like, the level of your AI is really fucking similar to her. You're Lapis. And then she's like, but I'm not. Oh, God, maybe I am. And then, like, she ends up leaving. And I remember playing it and thinking, huh, that's what we're doing? Huh. The reason, I feel like I have a hard time articulating why this kind of bothered me. Because I don't think the idea is a bad idea. The idea that Lapis has been captured, we don't know where the fuck she is, we are trying to find her, that brought us here to Calvard, and now some assholes got their hands on her and are using her as, like, super advanced AI and shit to be able to fund, like, to help with their schemes. I don't think that's a bad idea on paper. I think the problem with it for me is this feels like it came completely out of nowhere. And granted, it's very early in the game. I get that. But I'm just kind of like, okay, at the end of Reverie, the last time I saw Lapis, she was Gucci. She was just, like, traveling the world with her papa, with her older brother and older sister, like, eating ice cream. And I'm like, doesn't she take a selfie at the end with, like, Altina and shit? Like, I remember that. Maybe I'm remembering that wrong. Maybe I'm having fake fucking memories. So maybe I've been eroded. I can't fucking wait to talk about that shit. But I don't know. But sorry, my brain just fucking turned off for a second. As soon as I thought about the erosion, my brain, oh man, I hate that shit so much. But I think for me, what the problem is, the idea of what they're trying to do with Lapis, it's not that it's uninteresting, but it almost feels unearned. Like, there was nothing at the end of Reverie to make me go, there's a problem with Lapis, I'm looking forward to seeing this resolved. There was nothing in Kuro 1 that made me think, there's a problem with Lapis, I'm looking forward to seeing this resolved, because I like Lapis quite a bit. Like, when I found out in Cold Steel 3 that Altina was captured, I was like, okay. It is on site for every single one of you. We are dropping, and I mean, plot-wise, you're dropping everything too. It's like, okay, dropping everything, going to go save my little gummit ball. And if any of you get in my way, all y'all motherfuckers are gonna die. Because Altina is a good girl. She is a precious girl. I don't like Lapis as much as Altina. I'm like, I want to save her. She's freaking cool. That "Hi, I'm Lapis" scene was fucking great. Like, Reverie has some really fucking good moments. And I feel like most of them are with the Picnic Squad. Good shit. I want to help her. But this was just kind of like, wait, like, that's why you guys are here? It's like, it feels like you had to make shit up to justify them being in the story. And if I'm being honest, I don't feel like their story is overall that compelling having finished the game. One of the big things, there's like 3 big things with them, and I'll talk about them as we go. The first one is, we gotta go save our little sister. It's like, cool. I thought your little sister was already saved, so I guess we need to justify that. Like I said, like, we kind of have to give you a reason to be here, rather than it being something organically that was set up either at the end of your last game or in the previous Kuro game. It's not awful, but it just kind of made me feel like we're making shit up to justify a plot rather than the plot happening naturally. In Kuro 1, the first game in an arc, I don't have a problem with that. But we're in the second game of the arc, and we're not really following up on anything from the first game. And the game gets really fucking bloated. So why are we making up more bullshit? That's just kind of how I feel, if I'm being perfectly honest. Is there anything else to really say about it? Not really. So then we get to Act 2. Act 2 side van is going to Langport, which is Aaron's stomping grounds. You are partied with Aaron and Fairy, who I love as a duo, not as a couple. That's weird. But as a duo, they have this great brother-sister dynamic. And I just love the two of them interacting at, like, all times. So like I kind of said earlier, to me, Judith and 4 in that first chapter don't really do a whole lot. It's like, you're here to be the party members of the chapter, but am I getting a whole lot from either of you, like, to further your characters? Not really, and that's not inherently a bad thing, but again, like, we're in the second game. I would like to see some more shit, although 4 does get some shit later. I gotta say that, and I think it's fucking great. In this chapter, it's setting up more stuff for Fairy, which is that she's very indecisive about what she wants. I want to be a warrior of my clan. I want to be a good Jaeger. But during the new year, like, I had the role of, like, the shaman, like the high priestess, essentially. And it's a role that's not necessarily the same as that of a warrior. And maybe that's something that's more fitting for me, but I don't know if that's what I want. And my brother had told me, he's like, what Dad wants for you, what Abi wants for you, is not necessarily what I want for you. The idea that Kasim is like, you don't have to be a warrior. What I want for you is for you to be happy. What I really want for you is to find your own path and live it. I know I said I have my problems with Kasim. I do really like his relationship with his sister. I think it's good shit. With Aaron, it's essentially like, it's Aaron. He's just kind of an angry shithead. But they do interesting things with it because of the plot that goes on in this chapter. Essentially what goes on in this chapter is is it Lu? I believe it is the Lu family of Heiue is under Bahamut. Oh, you didn't fuck with anything, did you? Sorry, his head was getting way too close to the buttons and I wasn't sure if he messed with anything. He's definitely thinking about it. He's pushing the phone a bit. I guess that's one benefit of my car, is I don't have to worry about my cat messing up with anything, but one benefit of the room is I get to be with my bub. The Lu family is undergoing some strife. Grandpa ends up getting poisoned. Papa ends up getting arrested on some, like, trumped up charges. Sao, I think, was, like, out of the country at some point, where he's like, dude, like, all of this happened under my nose. I can't believe it. I'm like, yeah, I don't fucking believe it either. And Ashin is in the middle of this being like, dude, my grandpa's getting fucked over. My dad's getting fucked over. I don't know what's going on. And then Aaron's like, someone's messing with my family. Like, he's getting kind of pissed. There's also another family in Heiue, I believe it's the Lai family, who is considering, like, an uprising, and the first mission you do when Brisette like dynamic entry. Okay, now Bahamut, there's no way you're not blocking everything, dude. What are you doing? I'm gonna have to move you for a bit, bub. I don't trust you to. Oh, here. I'm gonna put you in my lap. You can sit with me, or you can just go. That's fine too. I just don't want you messing with the video. Thank you, bub. So the Lai family is planning a rebellion, and then you stop part of the rebellion, and there's this asshole named Goran, who is part of the Lai family, who's like related to the Lai family, who's got like these dragons tattooed on him. You end up going to fight that dude, and Kasim joins you as an NPC, and when you go to fight him, Shizuna shows up, and I mentioned this fight is amazing, and it's so damn fucking fun. It's bullshit, because it's like, hey, to get all the SP, no one in your party can die. I don't like that. I really don't like. There's a couple other fights that do it. I was able to do it for those. I couldn't do it for this one. It's like, I could have if I really wanted to, but I'm like, I failed once. I was like, all right, just kill me. The second time, I got like that fucking close. And I was like, I don't want to try this a third time. I'm just gonna keep going. And it's the only chapter I didn't get max SP on it. It like made me mad. It's like, fuck it. So after that, Shizun is like, cool guys. I mean, like, I was just hired to like help that dude, and like, I don't even know who the fuck hired me. But my job's done. Can I just hang out with you guys and do quests with you? And I think Aaron's like, I don't really want you around. I'm kind of scared of you. And Van's like, I'm kind of scared of her too, but it is what it is. So she joins you. Oh yeah, and Rosette's there. Sorry, like she also doesn't really do much in this chapter, but she set up shields. Like gameplay, she did a lot. So as you're going, like from where you fought Goran and Shizuna back to the mainland, because you fight him on the island from Kuro 1, which I thought was a nice little callback. They're kind of like, okay, who is the person that hired Shizuna? Who's the person that did all this shit? Who could have done all of this under Sal's nose? It was Sal, wasn't it? Yeah, it was probably Sal. And Aaron's like, that fucking rat-ass bastard. So you end up doing like this raid on a building, and Letty shows up and ends up being your NPC party member. I was like, I really wish I could just play as you, but this is cool too. This is really fucking cool. So 3 members of the Solutions Office, non-playable Letty and Shizuna, storm the castle. You fight Sal and some druids. He's like, yeah, I am Sal Lee. I am trying to now create the Lee family in Heiueo. I think this is for like the betterment of the mafia and shit. And Grandpa being poisoned. Yeah, I planned that, but he's alive. He's fine. Or maybe you find that part out later, but still in the chapter. And he's like, I basically did all of this shit to be able to make my own family, but it's all okay, but I'm an asshole, but I'm not that much of an asshole. Like his... but I actually do think the mafia politics is interesting, and this is something that's going to have ramifications in the rest of the series. That's exciting to me. That's actually kind of cool. And then Yolda, who is Ixis's twin sister, shows up. I believe she shows up with Goran, and you fight the 3 of them. And the fight's really fucking fun. And I remember finishing the chapter, I was like, damn. 2 top-tier boss fights? Good character shit with Aaron, setting up good character shit with Fairy, and a genuine, like, even though I could kind of just tell where it was going, like, pretty immediately, still an interesting story, and shit that will have ramifications on the series going forward. That's a fucking chapter. Let's go. Good shit. What are we doing with Swen and Nadia? We're going to school and nothing really happens. Okay. They go to Aramis with Anyas, and I'm like, all right, we're going to get Ren. We're going to get playable Ren. Good shit. And Ren isn't here because she's visiting family in Liberl. Really? You have the perfect opportunity to reintroduce Ren and make her playable, which she fucking should have been in the last game, and you're not doing it, which they do. It takes a good long while into the chapter. They finally do. And I was like, you fucking... I was just really annoyed. Now, I will say, it is fun. It is like pleasant and enjoyable seeing them like fitting into a school life. It's important for me to say, it's like, while Swin and Nadia feel, I personally, to me, I feel like they are very forced into this narrative. I still like them at this point. We'll get to that. If you play the game, you might know what I'm talking about. But I still like them here. I like the way they play off each other. I think Nadia is a more fun character, but I think Swin works as like her straight man and her partner. They have a very good dynamic. And essentially, I'm like, yeah, we've never been able to just like go to school. We've never had just a normal life. We've always wanted it though. And being able to do this, even if it is just for a couple days, like while Van's doing his thing, it's kind of nice. And I'm like, all right, is this like super interesting? Is a lot of like crazy plot shit happening? No. But it's kind of cool. And then the school blows up because of small bombs. I'm like, oh, well, we should have been more, okay. And then the next day you do some investigating and stopping some shit. And then you go to school the next day and Toa gets murdered. Like, you get one. You get one death that I won't accept. You get one rewind that I appreciate. This is your one game. Do not abuse this. They do. But, like, okay. If Toa had died, I would have fucking rioted. I'll give you that one. But essentially, like, what's going on? You're just dealing with some asshole racist terrorists, which, fuck them. Glad they're being dealt with. They got Toa killed. Fuck them. But I'm like, it's not super interesting to me because it's not like they're foreshadowed like earlier and you're like, I mean, maybe there's like a line and I missed it. Like, it could have happened. But it's not like we are dealing with this mystery. Like, there have been reports of this group going and we are infiltrating the school to keep it safe. It's just like, no, we were going to school and then it turns out these assholes were here and they're not really that important. It's like they're just kind of making shit up for Swin and Nadia to do. That's really how it feels. Because they're not dealing with this whole legacy of Aang getting... Because I forgot to mention, yeah, there's another Genesis fragment that you get in Van's thing. They're like, that's actually trying to further the plot. Swin and Nadia's just isn't. So if you don't really care about Swin and Nadia, which granted, again, at this point, I'm like, I like them. It's fine. Then you're really not going to be getting anything out of this. But at the end of the chapter, you go into like the catacombs of the school, which is pretty cool. I was like, all right, this is giving me some Cold Steel 1 vibes, doing the old schoolhouse. Ren joins the party. You end up meeting the main antagonist of the game, the Garden Master. And while it is not I think he does take off his mask, and he is Swin's former partner, who is also Nadia's brother, that they know and believe to be dead. And they're like, oh, this is a big deal. This is bad. And like I specifically remember the boss fight because I had to fight a bunch of demi-grundles and I killed them and then more showed up and I was like, no, these things are fucking bad. And I like survived by the skin of my teeth. It was rough because I hate these things. Then I have to fight him right after. I'm like, I don't know about that was not that bad. This guy's kind of a chump. And spoiler, he doesn't get better. But I'm like, okay, this is a villain that has some really interesting connections to Swin and Nadia. Let's kind of see what they do with him. Like, I don't know much about Swin. And like, I played Reverie, but I haven't read 3 and 9. So like, I don't know how much I'm supposed to care. But we'll see what they do with him. They can make him super interesting. They can give him a lot of charisma. You could have this like crazy backstory. He does have a crazy backstory. Give him that. I gotta give him points for creativity because what the fuck were they smoking? But that's basically everything that happens before the intermission. So from my perspective, this was like 25, 30 or so hours into the game. I was just kind of thinking, okay, this is all pretty good. with one really standout segment. When is it going to get great? Because I know it's going to get great. It's a Trails game. Hopefully the intermission is where that happens. So like I said, I'm going to uncut the video here, and then I'll be back, and I'm probably going to get some water, and then I'll be back, and we'll talk about the intermission, which for me is basically kind of an encapsulation of everything about Kuro 2 that is great, and everything about Kuro 2 that fucking sucks. Okay, so now we get to the intermission, which I can divide into essentially 3 phases. Phase 1 is it's vacation. It's big chillin'. It's Elroy sends like an invitation to pretty much everyone in this game that matters. The Solutions Office, the Dominions, Swin and Nadia, who are kind of an extension of the Solutions Office at this point. Ren ends up getting one, Shizuna gets one, Marduk gets one, which means Kasim gets one. The Letty and Walter get one. The Bracer Guild, so that's Zen and Elaine, because Fee is not in the game, but she's playable in the post-game, so she's still keeping her streak alive. I think at this point, Fee has been in more games than any character. Or at the very least, she's been playable in more games than any character. That's 4 Cold Steels, Reverie, and technically now 2 Kuro games, so that's 7. I think that's as many as Estelle and Joshua. So Estelle and Joshua, hold on, I actually have to do the math on this. 3 Sky games, they're playable in 0, they appear in Azure, playable in Cold Steel 4, and then playable in Reverie. So I believe, because they haven't shown up in Kuro yet, so they're in 7 games, but only playable in 6. Dude, Fee's fucking killing it. Like, holy shit, like, good job, Fee. Anyways, point. Like, everyone is here, to use Smash terms. And the first part of it, you're just big chill. Actually, weirdly enough, Kincaid isn't there. I guess he doesn't get an invite. But you're just chilling. Everyone gets to wear like their casual outfits, their swimsuits. You're having a good time. You can drive people. You can go parasailing with people. And there are some connect events, which I will talk about because I wrote them all down. Where are they? You get Aaron and Fairy, which is essentially like Aaron kind of helping her with some of her shit. And like being like a good older brother figure, which Kasim is still a good older brother. Again, I want to make that clear. But I really like the brother-sister dynamic they have in like some of like with Fairy's training and shit. Shizuna and Elaine, who are having a sword duel, and they're like, hey, let's not do anything crazy. Like, maybe we can do something else, like to still have a fight, but maybe you won't poke anybody's eye out. So they have a bike race in bikinis, and Van is commentating the whole time. It's like, maybe we'll get a happy accident. And then Elaine's like, I want to kill you so bad. And Shizuna's like, dude, I don't care. This is awesome. It might not be with swords, but I still get to fight with Elaine. We get to wear bikinis on the beach. This is great. Shizuna's entire personality is just, I am down for anything. We're going questing, we're going racing, we're fighting with swords. I don't care. I just want to be involved. I love this character. She's wonderful. And like I've said before, she's just fucking busted. So you got that one. You've got one with Marielle and Zeta, who is I don't remember what the country is, but the prince from the last game and his bodyguard. I mean, she's not the little sister of the bodyguard, but she's the little sister of that prince. So she gets an event with Marielle, who's the reporter from the last game. The female reporter. The male was Dingo Brad. I'd fucking pour one out for my boy. Marielle is used so fucking well in this game. I know I'm going to shit a lot on the narrative. I'm going to shit a lot on how characters are used and how some of them just don't really do anything or get anything. But seeing like her continued development of the crybaby reporter that she was in the first game and how reliant she was on Dingo, to really coming into her own, I loved that. And essentially their event is they're like going whale watching, and Marielle accidentally using her super high school level luck, summons the whale, and like she gets a perfect picture of it. It was like, it wasn't great, but I enjoyed it enough. I'm just happy to see her. After that, you get Some of these actually do just happen later at night. They might not all be in order. There's one with Judith and Nina where you can hang out with them, and it's just Van has a movie night with the two most famous actresses, watching a whole bunch of movies, watching their new upcoming movies before they're out in theaters. Like, this is really cool. I loved this event. There's one with Agnes and Ren, where Ren is on vacation, but she's still working too hard, and then Agnes is like, this is bullshit, and she needs to be able to relax and have a good time. So they have a 2-on-2 beach volleyball match with Agnes and Letty on one side, and Van and Ren on the other. And Agnes and Letty win. They're like, okay, as the victors, this is what we command of you. Enjoy your fucking vacation. It's like, don't do everything on your own, Ren. Be able to delegate. Be able to let, me as part of the student council do shit. For same with like Odette and Albert. We want you to be able to enjoy your life. And I'm like, yeah, this is really sweet. I like it a lot. There's one with Four and Rosette where Four is trying to learn how to swim. And then at some point, Rosette just starts drowning because I think her robotic body got kind of fucked up a little bit. I thought that one was okay. There's one with Swin and Nadia where it's essentially a girls rule, boys drool water gun fight. And it's just pretty fun. It was stupid, but it's good stupid. I'm like, this is just fun. I think silly is the better word than stupid. It was silly, and it was wonderful. I loved it. And there's one with Celis and Rion where, they're drinking sake under the moon, talking about their master, and Van ends up kind of showing up, and he's like, all right, they're just hanging out, they're not doing anything. They're like, hey, asshole, you were eavesdropping, come here. And they, swap stories, they're drinking. It's like, this is another really good one. And if you've noticed, I haven't mentioned Burgard yet, because he's not in the fucking game. He literally only shows up in the fucking end credits. I mean, I thought the dude was kind of a nothing burger in the first game. I'm gonna be honest. He didn't leave much of an impact, either story-wise or gameplay-wise. And I mean, fucking student like master, dude. Because Gaius did nothing for me in any of the Gold Steel games. It's like, hey, here's his master. Also a character who died and didn't because consequences, am I right? It's, anyways. He's not in the game. He doesn't fucking do anything. But those are the collect events, and I like them connect events, and I liked them quite a bit. Then you move on to phase 2 of the intermission, Elroy's Island Tour, where the next day he's like, okay, did everyone have a good time? Oh, also that night you can just make cocktails with people, and somehow I had infinite points for this, which I don't think I was supposed to, but the game did me a solid, I guess. So I just hung out with everyone, made drinks with everyone. We had a great fucking time. Then the next day, Elroy's like, all right, everybody, let's have a meeting. I know you're all here for me. Either I invited you, like the Spriggans, or, like the Bracers. You're after me. I'm an asshole. Ouroboros, you're after me because I'm an asshole. Because I've left the society. You did what? You're an Anguis, dog. You left? The fuck? Yo, that's crazy. So does that mean you're just you're completely off the rails? You're not even loyal to the Grand Master? What the fuck? Even Weissman was seemed like he was genuinely loyal to the Grand Master. He just fucked up because Estelle and Joshua pissed him off so much. Vita, even in Cold Steel 4, which she's and 3, excuse me. Actually, yeah, it is in both. When she is actively working against Ouroboros, she makes it clear. I am loyal to my master till my dying breath. I think this Phantasmal Blaze plan, or the way we're doing it now, is stupid, it's wrong, and I'm gonna fight against it. But I have no intention of formally leaving Ouroboros. I'm going right back to them and talking to my master afterwards. He's like, nah, I dipped. Okay. I'm excited to see where the fuck this goes. That's kind of cool. So, okay, so Leanne is dead, so we need a new 7th Anguis. we've never met the 5th Anguis, and now we're gonna need another 4th Anguis? Like, damn, this is some crazy cool shit. So everyone goes to confront Elroy, and that stupid Zect Arms lady that I hate when... Elroy, I don't remember exactly what he says, but basically, like, everyone is there on the beach, or it's like on the cliff edge. They're like, what's stopping us from just kicking your ass right now? And he's like, I'm just gonna let y'all know. I wouldn't do that if I were you. And the Zect Arms lady's like, yeah, go kill him, or whatever the fuck she says. I don't care. I did not like this person at all. So they shoot at Elroy, and then poison just kills everybody instantly. And then you go back in time. And I know I said earlier, it's like, okay, you get 1 for Toa because all of that shit was just stupid. And it's like, I can't let Toa die. The way Elroy uses it is really fucking cool. Because the piece of shit that he is, he's like, look, I kind of just know what's going on. So I'm just going to do insane, crazy bullshit and have you stop me. And if you do, good job, good shit. If you don't, well, better luck next time. And, like, there's a point where he's talking to Van, and he's just like, yeah, so answer me, Spriggan, how did it feel to die? Like, he's just fucking with him. It's awesome. I love this dude. I love his design. I love, like, his fucking eyes. I love his, like, peacock feather pimp coat. Honestly, fuck, what was the name of Vita's pet? Oh gosh, her familiar. I can't remember its name. Grianos. Thank you. It looks like he's wearing a fucking coat made of Grianos' feathers. And he is like a smooth pimpin' daddy. His fucking cigar just looks cool as shit. He's always smoking. He has literal crafts where he's just like doing shit with his cigar. His voice is great. His demeanor is great. I have a lot of problems with this game. Generally speaking, Elroy is not one of them. Gotta be honest about that. I fucking love this dude. So Elroy's island tour. After everyone dies, Van and them are like, well, we can't just walk up to him. It's like he specifically wants to talk to us. And if we just go up there, everyone's gonna follow us and we're all gonna fucking die. So let's go the back road. So they like steal a boat, use the back road, take Elroy. And he's like, cool, this is what you're gonna do for me. You're gonna go on my island tour. There's a few specific locations I want you to go. I want you to hit up, do some shit. And that's basically it. But everyone else here, they're after me. Understandably so. But they're after me. What I want you to do, and it's like you don't have to fight them. They're gonna fight you, though. And, like, you know, fight them, do whatever you want. If you want to kill them, do it. If you don't want to kill them, you don't have to. I'm not gonna make you do it. But you can't tell anybody what I want you to do, which is just to go on my island tour. If they think that you're working with me and helping me with some plan, well, that's their conclusion to make. You can't tell them otherwise, though. Because you know what I've got planned. You know what's on this island. You know about the smoke. You know about the poison. So, don't make me fucking activate it. And we'll all have a good time. Also, these two, Ixis and Yolda, who are working for me, I was like, these two will kind of help you out when needed. We good? Good. Have at you. What a piece of shit. He's great. So, you go through Elroy's island tour. You fight Zin and Elaine, and they're like, from our fight, we were able to tell that you're not a terrible person. Sure, dog. Then you go fight Heiyue and Zect Arms, and they're just assholes, and Sal's like, Goran, you're actually my brother, and everything I am doing is to set you up to be the new leader of the family because you're my brother. Sure, dog. Then you have to go deal with Kasim. So on the way to Kasim's checkpoint, I see a little area of interest, because, you know, if it's in red, it means you gotta do it. If it's in blue, it means you can do it, but you don't have to. So I see a thing in blue. which is the prince and his bodyguard. And I'm like, oh, cool. Let me go interact with them and see what happens. Like, am I going to fight them? They were bosses in the last game. And I've been fighting everybody. Let's go. And then Van's like, oh, no, we can't do that. I don't know why I'm doing the robot, but sure, dog. He's like, oh, we can't do that. I don't want to fuck with them right now. Okay. There's also this recurring thing where they're like, oh, shit, dude, like the Gralsritter are over there. We can't get involved with them. Why not? I mean, we got involved with an A-rank bracer and an S-rank bracer. I mean, it's not technically an S-rank bracer, but he basically is because, the promotion, blah, blah, blah. It's like, we dealt with 2 incredibly high-ranking bracers. We dealt with the Mafia. At this point, I fought Shizuna, who, again, the game literally says, hey, this is optional, and she's really hard. Don't fucking do this. You can if you want. You don't have to. And it was awesome. Why would I be scared of the Gralsritter after just fighting Shizuna? Why would I be scared of the prince and his bodyguard after just fighting Shizuna? You warned me about her, and she lived up to it. You ain't warning me about shit. You're just like, oh, don't, no. But essentially what you're doing is, stop trying to go around the plot. So, because I can't go around the plot, I have to go to Kasim, and he kicks your ass. Not even in a fight, it's just a cutscene, get your ass kicked, classic Trails maneuver. And Van's like, oh no, we lost, and now we're getting captured because he thinks we work for Elroy. We're not even getting killed, we're getting inconvenienced, and then a time leap happens. So that dude getting murdered earlier, which if you could time leap, you could have easily stopped. No, you can't do that. Fuck that dude. But getting mildly inconvenienced, no, that's a huge fucking problem. So now that I've gone to deal with Kasim, now I can deal with the prince. I don't remember his name, and I feel really bad. That's why I just keep saying the prince. But now I can go deal with that. And when you do that, when you beat them, you get a key. You can use the key to go into the mine, which is an area earlier that I had found from exploring. You talk to Ixis, who's like, okay, I will help you here. I got you. Also, like, when you're fighting Heiwei, Ixis helps you in that fight as an NPC character, which is pretty cool. Again, it's like, I wish these characters could be playable, but having a recurring antagonist in the arc or, like, in the game be a party member is pretty dope. But again, this is my problem. This is why I hate the way the game is designed. If you go deal with Kasim, like, don't go deal with Kasim yet, you're fucked. It's like, I specifically saw, here is a thing I can interact with. And I tried to interact with it, and the game didn't let me. It only let me interact with it after I got fucked in a cutscene, something completely out of my control. If you go do Kasim, you lose. But if you explore a little bit and you do this part first, then you can deal with him. That's completely fine. It rewards me as the player for exploring, and it kind of punishes me for just playing the game straight linear. But I was trying to explore. I did explore, and the game said, no, you can't do this yet. Then it fucking wasted my time. And then said, now you can do this. You should have done this in the first place. I mean, who goes straight for Kasim? I fucking hate it. Then you go fight Kasim, who they keep hyping up. It's like, dude, this is the strongest active Jaeger, like, of all time and shit. It's like, this is the blazing whirlwind. I bomb it. It's like, dude, this dude... Bahamut, what are you doing? Do you just want to see yourself on camera? I mean, I guess they can still hear me, so it's not the end of the world. So I'm gonna let you sit there for a bit, okay, Bahamut? You just get a close-up of my cat's face. But he's the baddest dude on the planet. Keep in mind, Shizuna is a Jaeger. The game specifically warns you about how badass Shizuna is. Kasim is a joke when I was fighting him. Nobody got knocked down. I don't think I had to swap any of my party members out in that fight. I didn't even need to use Agnes, who was like my ace in the hole. I just don't have her start. And I did have Fairy land the finishing blow with her S-Craft because that felt right. I was like, dude, for someone who's supposed to be like the baddest fucking dude, he's not. Which granted is a very often a problem with trails, is someone in narrative will be hyped up to be strong as hell. You fight them, kick their ass, and then the cutscene after is like, that was so hard. Man, I can't believe we had to do that fight. I'm like, yeah, that was easy. That's why I love Shizuna so much, because anytime I have fought her, in this game and the last game, I'm like, no, that was actually difficult. She lives up to her in-series reputation. She's new Leanne. Anytime you show up and I get to fight you, I am hyped, because I know it's not going to be a walk in the park, and I know I'm going to have a ton of fun. Kasim, nah, it's like, I don't believe you're the strongest active Jaeger because I kicked your fucking ass, dude. But you do that shit. And then, and then when you fight Kasim, Yolda joins the party. And again, that's pretty cool. And you go to the last part of the island tour, which is you go to this facility, and it's like super cursed. And I was exploring it, and I was like, hey, there's like a door here. Can I go through it? No? Okay. And then I do a cutscene where I fucking die because evil shit, and Ren is like kind of possessed-ish. And then I do it again, and now I could go out that door. And then I talk to the Dominions, I fight the Dominions, they're like, oh, I guess you're not horrible, dude. And then they do some purification shit, and then I go back into the facility, and it's like, oh, this was paradise. Oh, that's what this, hey, bub. It's like, that's what this island is. This is where paradise happened. And Ren is not okay being in this facility. Under fucking standable. 4, who I don't believe it was ever like outright stated was a victim of the DG cult in Kuro 1, but Van has like a line or two where it's very heavily hinted at. Has not been okay since we set foot on the island. He's not doing well in this facility either. And one of Ren's friends, the friend Cross, who, if you've seen Star Wars 15, Bob. Like, if you've seen Star Wars 15, like, he was like the main leader of that group. That personality shows up and is essentially like possesses Ren to try and help her. And they're like, if you guys are here to hurt Ren, I'm going to hurt you. So you fight Ren, Walter, and Letty. And Elroy shows up, and he's a party member. This motherfucker... I'm actually going to move my camera a little bit so my cat isn't completely blocking it. I didn't want to distract him, but he was blocking the camera, I think, for just a little too long. This motherfucker's S-Craft is he basically just, like, opens Kingdom Hearts from Kingdom Hearts 1. Like, he just, like, basically, like, this is the door to darkness. No, Kingdom Hearts is like, no, this one is the door to darkness. And, like, it's some cool-ass looking shit. I don't know how the fuck he's doing this, but it is fucking cool. But you fight them, and it's actually a pretty fun fight. Like, I'm fighting 3 enforcers at once. Like, this is bringing me back to SC territory. It's really fucking cool. You do that, and I believe that's the end of Elroy's Island tour, which brings us to Phase 3. I just want to check my notes. Is there anything I'm forgetting? No. Okay. What the fuck is that? Oh, that's me talking about that. Okay, I'll get to that. That's in Phase 3. Then you get to Phase 3 where 4 goes missing. You run around the island a little bit. Can't find him. You end up finding him with Elroy, and he turns into he being 4, not Elroy, turns into an angel and blows the island up. So then you go back in time, you go to some specific spots and do some, like, shit to kind of, like, give peace to the island. Like, at one point you go to a grave, and it's like, this is the, like, unmarked grave of all the kids who fucking died here. That's one of those moments where I'm like, this is, like, a pretty, because, like, Ren is there with you, I'm like, But it is a genuinely, like, impactful moment. I think it's very good. So you go, and because you, like, laid rest to these places, 4 isn't strong enough to blow up the island, but you fight Angel 4. That's kind of cool. Like, easy as shit, but pretty cool. And then, like, a thing opens up in the ground, and Elroy takes 4 into it, where you fight 4 again, and Elroy gives the backstory, which is 4 was not a kid from paradise, but his parents were big into the cult. I don't remember if he said that they were priests or if they were just, like, devout believers, but they were members of the DG cult. And I guess technically D there, 4G, but DG rolls off the tongue better. Members of the cult who wanted to create a perfect vessel to house a demon. And that's what 4 is. He is, I do say he instead of they. He has male parts and female parts. I say he instead of they because my understanding of the character is that he does identify as male. I don't believe he's gender fluid. I don't believe he's trans or non-binary. If I am wrong about that, certainly let me know and I can, like, correct that. I'll, like, make a note of that in my description. But that is my understanding from playing the game. There's a Connect event that deals with that a little bit later, which I'll talk to because I fucking loved it. But my understanding of 4 is that he sees himself as male and, like, he hates his body because it's not wholly male and he feels very ashamed of it. Which is something that it's one thing I do like in Kuro 1 and Kuro 2 is that whenever you're in a sauna or in the intermission when everyone's taking a bath, never takes a bath with the other characters. And, you know, there's a towel wrapped around the top and a towel wrapped around the bottom. Like, that makes a lot of sense. And everyone, basically, like, after you beat him in a boss fight, he's not playable for the rest of the chapter. They're like, okay, it's now on site. Forever, like, fuck this island, fuck Elroy for, like, making you do this, for bringing this back up to you, like, fuck him for telling us your backstory. If you didn't feel comfortable sharing that shit, we didn't have to know. That's your thing to tell us, fuck this asshole. So go, and then the twins are there, and you fight the twins, and then they're like, oh, you didn't kill us at the same time, fuck you. Like, I hate you two, but I love them. So the twins' backstory is they're Gerard's twin children. And they're like, yeah, but, like, we didn't really know our dad. Like, fuck him. And after Melchior died, he gave an order for all members of the garden, because they're part of the garden, to kill each other. And they're like, so we did that. We killed everybody until it was just us. Yeah, we killed, and we killed, and we killed, and we killed, and we killed. It was fucking awesome. Like, I love that they are just the foils to Swen and Nadia. It's like Swen and Nadia have, like, a brother-sister dynamic. I mean, Nadia wishes they didn't, but that's how Swen sees it. And these two are actually brother and sister. Swen and Nadia were really good at killing her. Like, we don't want to do this anymore. We want to change our ways. And these two are like, no, we love it. It's awesome. We're just mad we didn't get to kill Melchior. I mean, thanks for killing him. He's a piece of shit, but come on, it was our kill. Like, they're just shitheads. And they're great. And they're like, dude, what we want is we want to join Ouroboros because we want to be enforcers, because we want that, like, freedom that it gives us. That's why we're hanging out with this old asshole. It's like, this is essentially our test to become enforcers. This is great. It's like, I love these two, and they're fantastic. So you go through more of the dungeon, and then you fight Elroy, and he's like, all right, since you're here, it's time for the main event. I'm trying to summon a demon. Why? Why the fuck not? Like, this is paradise. This is where the DG cult was. They were all like worshiping demons and shit. You guys fought one at the end of the year. I was like, shit, I want to see a demon. So fuck it. Let's go. And you stop the summoning of the demon. I don't even remember how. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, it's bullshit. It's like, no, I just genuinely don't remember what happened. And you fight Elroy, and fuck him. It's great, but fuck him. And then after the fight and everything, he's just like, good shit. Wasn't sure you had it in you. You stopped my plan of summoning the demon. You completely stopped it. You've like exorcised it. You exorcised the island. You helped Ren with her shit. You helped Four with your shit. This was great. And then they're like, wait, because like he specifically brings up the fact he's like, Ren, don't you feel better now? You've confronted your past and you've overcome it. See, I heard about what happened last year when you had all those memories of what happened and you like completely broke down. So I thought about this and I could bring you back and have you overcome it. You did all this for me to make me happy? Yeah. Why wouldn't I do something like that for my little sister? And Ren's response to that is essentially, no, you didn't. I know you. Maybe, and I mean, if I'm being generous, maybe that was what started this line of thinking, is you wanted to do something nice and then you took it too far. Or maybe that was your plan the whole time and there was a part of you that's like, hey, you know, maybe I can help out the kiddo. Sure, but you don't give a fuck about me. You're an asshole. And he's like, you got me. Guilty as charged. Ain't I a stinker? Like, I love this dude. There's a line, it's either in Cold Steel 4 or Reverie. I don't remember which one. Where someone says to Sharon, it was essentially that like Letty and Elroy say hi and kind of like give their regards. And I remember Sharon's response to that was essentially like, okay, I know those two, so I know they're full of shit. Or it's like, I know they don't care about me, but sure, dog. Having played Kuro 1 and Kuro 2, I'm like, okay, when Letty gave her regards, that seems genuine. Like, she's pretty on the up and up. And it feels like her relationship with Ren, again, like, you're the little sister of Ouroboros, seems very real. So I imagine, yeah, she probably does see Sharon, because they're both part of the, what was it, the Moonlit Horse? Yeah, Golden Butterfly, Order of the Moonlit Horse. She probably does see Sharon as kind of like a bit of a little sister. You know, when Elroy said it, he did not actually give a fuck. It's like, I kind of dig that. Also, I don't think I said this, but I got to see Letty in a swimsuit in the intermission. I'm an animal, but like, damn. Letty activates some neurons. Whether she got the veil, whether she's in a kimono, whether she's in a swimsuit, I'm like, I don't care. She does things to me. But so you do all this shit. And I'm sitting here thinking, how the fuck is this the intermission? Bahamut, I know you've been blocking it for a while. Dude, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm thinking to myself, how the fuck is this the intermission? I'm like 40 hours, because I finished the intermission at about 42 hours. So I'm like, I'm 40 hours in. That's longer than a lot of the games I've played this year. Almost as long as the entirety of Tales of the Abyss. And this feels very final. This feels very climactic. Like I just fought a fucking Anguis. They just met a couple enforcers. Like, so much shit just happened. How is this the intermission? Why is this just the intermission? And I found out. I found out because Swin steals the fragment, because Elroy was using a fragment of the Genesis, because of course. We get him, and then Swin takes all the fragments of the Genesis and delivers them to the Garden Master, who just showed up. And he's like, I now have it. I now have the whole red Genesis. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. Then, with no explanation, literally zero, he holds up the red Genesis, and 6 of the 7 in our possession go flying towards him like he was fucking Magneto, and using the power of his magnetism to take them. And like it was either Van or Anius, I think it was Van, like holds on to one of them and it doesn't go over there. And then Nadia's like, Swin, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you're my partner. And he's like, but he was my former partner. Like, I'm sorry, Nadia, but like, this is my atonement. I have to do this shit. Goodbye. And that's how it ends. And, let's talk about Swin. I am going to go full spoilers for the rest of the game at this point onwards. Bear that in mind. Oh my god, I hate Swin. I had said a little bit ago that I was like, yo, I like Swin and Nadia at this point. This is the part where I stopped liking him. Let me go and say, there's not a point where I stopped liking Nadia, although I have a contention with her, and I'll talk about that too. What the fuck was that? So this game, which has not been moving at a very good pace. Because like I said, there's like 5 dead ends before the intermission. There's like 5 during the intermission. It's really fucking irritating. Interesting character shit is happening. We get a lot with Ren, because I know I said earlier Oliver's like the main character of the series. I'm kind of starting to lean more toward that being Ren. Major character in Sky, major character in Crossbell. I still think her arc in Zero is the best part of Crossbell. She kind of takes Cold Steel off, but still gets to show up in Cold Steel 4 and do shit. Has been a major player in Kuro, and gets a lot of shit in the intermission. 4 gets a lot in the intermission, and I wasn't big on 4 in Kuro 1. I thought the character was okay. He didn't really get a lot. This is him, like, getting his arc, and it's so good. And, like, we're dealing with a fucking Anguis, but it's not even, like, his big plan. This is not Ouroboros' big plan, because he's not with Ouroboros right now. So, in terms of, like, big story, it's kind of filler. It's cool, so I'm glad it happened. But we haven't really been doing anything, like, with the story. Like, I guess because we're getting the last piece of the Genesis. But never mind, because we just lost them all. So now, what Chapter 3 is going to be is not us moving the plot forward. It's us getting back to where we were. That is going to be a waste of time. It's already been 40 hours. That's a whole-ass RPG. You could argue that's 2 whole-ass RPGs. And while some things have happened, we're only halfway through, and this next half is not going to be moving forward at all, is it? And it's worse than I thought it was, but it's all Swin's fault for doing that shit. They try to give him some kind of explanation later, and I don't know how much sense it makes. Because if I look at it the way most favorable to Swin, what he's saying is, when the garden, because this happens off screen, he's like, the garden master came to me, basically made me a pitch to help him because he was my former partner and shit. And I said, sure dog, I owe you, you're my guy. And then the Red Grundle said to me, like, hey, if you willingly... Working for him willingly is better than him forcing you to, because you're submitting essentially to his contract, the contract that he is who he says he is. And if he ever does anything to say that I am not who I say I am, and you're like, I call bullshit on that, you will be free of his control. So what you need to do, Swin, is essentially get yourself mind controlled, submit to the mind control so that you can break it. And Swin said, fucking bet. Then it made him do all the shit he did. Because there's a point later where the garden master tries to kill Nadia, because Nadia's like, you're not my fucking brother. You're full of shit. He tries to kill Nadia, and Swin's like, that's what I needed. You're not him. And then attacks him, and he's like, yeah, and he explains all this shit. in a light most favorable to Swin, that is the timeline that all of this shit happened. The reason I don't like it is because this motherfucker did not help us at all in Chapter 3. Now, you would say it's like, well, it's because he's mind controlled. He submitted to the mind control. So, yeah, there's not much he's going to be able to do. Like, but here's my problem. Essentially, he's like, if I am mind, like, it's better to be, like, to submit to it than be forced to it because, like, I can break it. It's like, you barely did anything. Like, Swin is not in Chapter 3 until, like, the end of Part F. It's like, you didn't really help. The only thing you did was save Nadia, which good shit. But she probably wouldn't have been in danger if you didn't do all this shit. Like, this dude isn't a threat. He's not scary. You gave him the tools to be a threat. And even then, he kind of keeps getting clowned on anyways. You just made the game longer and set up the single worst chapter in the entire fucking franchise. And that's me being favorable to you. Being not favorable to you is... because I'm kind of confused about when the Red Grendel had that talk with Swin. Because it's either Garden Master showed up, talked to him, left, Red Grendel stayed and said shit, or Garden Master showed up, said that shit, Swin went under, and then the Red Grendel said, hey, that's probably a good play because you can break it. And if that's the case, that means this asshole willingly went under the mind control, not because it was part of a gambit, but because he genuinely fell for it and wanted to help this asshole. Which means everything he did, like, this is wholly your fault, and you're a piece of shit. I will give him the benefit of the doubt, but even giving him the benefit of the doubt, I'm like, I don't like you. And the fact that you don't really show up in Chapter 3, it's like you're just kind of out of the game. And Nadia's barely in the chapter either. Like, she, I think, shows up at the very, very end of Part E in a cutscene where she's like, hey guys, here's the last Genesis. Because the whole time, it's like she's gone and like, oh, she's trying to look for Swin, I guess. So all of this shit about how my brother is a total piece of shit and my best friend, who I genuinely love, betrayed us, and all of the shit that we are now dealing with is their fault. You don't see her reaction to this whatsoever, and it feels wasted. We get to see her reaction going to school, which, like I said, it's nice, it's fun, it's sweet, but the shit that could have been really interesting, nope, all off screen. Ooh, I hate it. But that's the intermission. I'm going to take another bit of a break, and then I'm going to come back, and I am going to talk about how much I fucking hate Chapter 3. So Chapter fucking 3. 6 subparts. A through F. With the exception of Part F, the first 5 can all be summed up as thus. Someone that you know is undergoing a form of, do they call it erosion or corrosion? I think they do call it corrosion. No, because corrosion's a status effect, so it's called erosion. They get this red aura around them, and, excuse me, essentially someone fucked with their memories to make them believe something that isn't true, and based on that misinformation, with one exception, they want to go kill the Spriggans. And they show up and are like, hey, you did this. No, we didn't. Yes, you did. Don't lie to me. You can't fool me. No, like, we literally didn't. Like, we can, like, probably fucking prove it. No, I'm not gonna listen to you. And then they, like, follow you and fight you and kill you once or twice. There's, like I said earlier, about 2 to 3 rewinds per these first 5. And it goes nowhere. These fucking suck. Each of these parts takes like 3 hours, which means this chapter is about 18 to 20 hours. Because I think I finished the intermission at about 42. I didn't start the finale until about 62. Again, this is why I hate Swin. You can try and justify it again as like, I did what I thought was best. willingly get under his control so I could break it later when it was the right time to stop him. It's like, well, asshole. The right time to stop him was right now when he didn't have all the pieces for his fucking plan, idiot. The first chapter is Ashin is like, you guys killed Sal. Sal is literally alive. I don't care. I'm going to send some assassins after you. And what do we learn in this chapter? That Ashin really, really cares about Sal. Yeah, no shit. That's been like her entire fucking character. Like, I learned nothing new from this. The next one, which is the only one where someone's not trying to kill a Spriggan, is my boy, Maxim. Who, his thing is that Yume, the daughter of Paulette, who's the nice lady that works at the bakery that you live in and shit. Bakery, the bistro. Is the daughter, who was also corroded, was telling him, hey, mommy has a new boyfriend and he abuses us. And Maxim went, I'm going to fucking kill him because no one does that to those two. Like, I love them. It's like, so what did I learn about this? That Maxim loves them. Yeah, no shit. I did that I found that out in the first game. It was fucking great. I love him as an NPC. His story is fucking great. You're doing nothing with it right now. This is not fucking interesting. What's the next one? I think that's the one where Celis goes crazy. He's like, you killed Master Burgard. No, I didn't. He's not even in the fucking game. I could kill him if I wanted to. No, don't you lie to me. And then, like, what did I learn about Celis? That she really cares about her master. No shit. I did that Connect event where she was getting drunk, talking, like, connecting with her other disciples. And, like, Rion loses his stigma because, I don't fucking know, because the corrosion or some shit. And then he gets it back because, like, if we had skipped this, nothing of value would have been lost. Then you get chapter 4. This is the only good one. I still don't like it because of shit, but it's the only good one. The people that get corroded are Fairy, Rosette, and Kasim. Rosette's is fine what they do with her. Essentially, she's like, I was able to believe the false memories because I'm so not human anyways. To me, it's always a crapshoot that what I'm seeing and thinking is actually real. That's actually kind of interesting. It's not like as good as the shit that 4 got earlier, but it's like, hey, like I think it's fine. At least they tried to do something. Fairies is really interesting. Because with her corroded memories, she's like, you guys are assholes. You guys are part of A, and you helped them kill Ida. Which, you know, technically isn't wrong, because Van was the one that did it, but whatever. What they do with her is, this is Warrior Fairy. This is her willing to take lives with no hesitation. And to, like, the characters, as well as me, the audience, it feels wrong. I love this character, and a big part of her is her innocence. It's that childlike quality that her brother doesn't want to see her lose. And this is her when it's gone. It's really effective. I actually like this one. To my surprise, Chapter 3 isn't a complete shit show, because there's one good thing in it. Then there's a reveal later, because there's a part in Celis's where she breaks through of the corrosion and, like, basically hurts the Garden Master from a while away, and it's like, yeah, he's kind of getting clowned on, and then Kasim's like, okay, you'll be able to, like, help my sister. And then just, like, breaks the corrosion. Like, you could do that the entire time. His response is essentially like, yeah, but I'm, like, helping my sister. I'm like, wait. So, when you and all your Marduk friends murdered us several times, you could have not done that. So essentially what it sounds like you're saying is, like, I knew this was all bullshit and I could break out of it, but I needed to help, like, my sister needed to see this through. So you willingly murdered people you knew were innocent for that? No, fuck you! You piece of shit! You might be a good brother, but you're a fucking asshole in my book. Fuck you, Kasim. I mentioned earlier that there was something they could have done with Kasim that would have been impeccable. So at the start of this route, if you haven't done the Celis Rion one, or I think essentially what, because like you can kind of choose-ish how the order you do some of these events. If you don't have enough Genesis, you just fucking die, and the game's like, you don't have enough Genesis to continue. So it's just like a fucking arbitrary thing. It's not even like, oh man, like, because there's limits to the time travel power, like, we're not strong enough to deal with this. Like, no, you were just caught off guard, but if you had more Genesis, it could save you. No, that's fucking stupid. Shut up. Then, when you have enough Genesis, you get ambushed, and the characters are able to react to the ambush and not die. And it is explicitly not because they're like, we've seen this before, let's act. It's they're able to react to it. Like they should have been doing this entire fucking game because they're competent, but not the way they're written because this game sucks. And everyone has, like, this game has to make up bullshit for it to exist. You have to either make the characters competent or incompetent, excuse me. You have to execute their competence. So be like, hey, remember how Lapis was fine? Well, never mind. We had to make some shit up to justify these two being here. And we have to justify Swin being here because he makes the game 20 hours longer. Oh, I am mad. I fucking hate this so much. Where was I? Kasim. Fuck Kasim. The reason I hate Kasim. So after you survive this ambush, like you should be able to do, you end up getting ambushed again by Kasim and some droogs. The way it goes is you fight him, and he has a lot of health. He has more than Shizuna. I think Shizuna was 220. I think here he was like 249, 250, something like that. And I was like, oh, let's go. Let's fucking fight him. So I'm beating his ass like to half health, and then the fight stops. And it goes into a cutscene, and this is where you find out that Fairy is possessed, Rosetta is possessed, and then you just die. And it makes you do it again, and you have to redo this fight with Kasim and his droogs, and the game's like, hey, maybe you should run. You know, the thing you literally can't do during boss fights and was not an option previously when you were doing it earlier. It's like, hey, maybe you should run now, and then you run and a cutscene happens and you escape. So again, putting me in a situation, punishing me for doing something that I wasn't able to do and making me do it again, wasting my time. Here's what should have fucking happened. Put me in that fight with Kasim and do it like this. You can beat him. It is a completely winnable fight. He's hard. He's buff to shit. He's got a lot of health. Make it like that Shizuna fight. You don't have to do this. If you lose while fighting Kasim, time leap, game over, do this shit again. If you want, you can run. You won't get the SP, but you can run and continue the plot. Or, once you get to that part where he's like, I'm gonna go even harder in the fight, you can keep fighting. If you beat him, nothing will change in terms of the plot. It's trails. You're going to beat a boss and be like, oh man, this is really hard. We got to go. That's going to happen either way. But you, as the player, don't have to time leap if you can beat him. So, like I just said, it gives me as the player some agency to avoid the time leap, like the shit with the twins. It gives me, the player, a really big challenge, like the Shizuna thing. And I think that would actually be really interesting. If you lose, you get punished. If you make it to a certain point in the fight, you can continue the story and just go ahead and cut it. Or you can get a super boss and you can fight him and you get bragging rights if you do it, because you make this fight hard. Like, dude, he doesn't give a fuck. He's gonna use his S-Craft, he's gonna be buffed to shit. It's hard. And if you lose, do it all again. That's your punishment. Why didn't you do that? That would have been amazing. I would have loved it. And Kasim would have earned his reputation as the blazing whirlwind, as the world's strongest active Jaeger, because that's why I don't like him. You keep hyping him up as hot shit, and I fought him on the island and whooped his ass. I fought him here, was whooping his ass until the game said, no, stop, you lose, fuck you. And then when you fight him later at the end of this chapter with Rosette, I beat his ass. He's not hard. You'd be like, oh, he's been holding back the entire time. I don't care. He's easy for someone who's not supposed to be. Make him a challenge. And there was a perfect opportunity to do so, and it was wasted. Like I said, the stuff they do with Fairy in this subchapter is good, but at what cost? Because I just kept feeling that my time was wasted and my characters were written terribly for all of this to happen. And then the final subplot is the CID and the Bracer Guild get corroded or eroded, whatever the fuck, I don't care. And they're like, oh, we gotta overthrow the government and do a coup. And then Cody, you remember fucking Cody? Is like, Graham Hart killed Rocksmith. I was like, I can't fucking remember the former president. It's like you killed Rocksmith, and I gotta kill you. And by the way, this is when Graham Hart shows up in the game. Remember how at the end of Kuro 1, they're like, he has a plan, and we don't know what it is, and it's probably gonna be pretty hype. And he and the fucking Grandmaster have a non-aggression pact, which is done now, by the way. They're like, yeah, it's been 2 years. They can both do shit. I'm like, I would love to see what Ouroboros wants to do. Because what Elroy was doing had nothing to do with that. So, like, do I get to see what Ouroboros had planned in this game? Nope. Do I get to see what fucking Graham Hart had planned for this game? Nope. Just made up dumb bullshit that I don't care about. I mean, yeah, it's fiction. Technically, it's all made up bullshit. Sure. But it's shit that doesn't fucking matter because this game is like filler, and it's not even... Some of it is good filler, but it's barely any of it is fucking good filler. Ugh. This chapter, again, aside from that little bit with Fairy, is just not. So you deal with this... Here's why it doesn't matter. Because none of these characters are doing things that they would normally do. The reason I hate that is because it is literally wasting time. Am I learning anything interesting about anyone here? No, because every single fucking time they're like, I wouldn't have done that. Oh my god, what I did was so stupid. Because it was obviously bullshit. Yes, it was. My time was wasted. And like, there's no recovering from that feeling. It's not just like, yeah, I didn't love it. I don't think some of the decisions worked, but it's all right. It's, you wasted my time and made it an art form. I almost want to respect it, but I just hate it. Thanks, I hate it. Is there anything else I wanted to say about Chapter 3 before we get... Oh no, because there were a couple like little moments that I kind of enjoyed that I wrote down. Where are they? Nothing of value learned except for with Fairy. Yeah, Aaron punching Sal was really cool to see. Actually seeing Graham Hart for a bit, which probably should have been part of the main plot. It's just kind of cool, like, seeing him kick ass. And, there's a part where Stellis is riding on a car that Van is in and is, like, trying to kill him. That was pretty fun. I don't think they justified this shitty fucking chapter, but okay. And then we get to the last part. Now that we've collected all the other Genesis and we're back to where we started... He's not able to magnetize them away like he did the first time. Maybe he's not trying, or maybe there was no logical reason for that to happen, so it was complete fucking bullshit that it happened in the first place, and it was just to make the game longer, or it was absolute dog shit. I'm leaning more toward that. But you go into this, like, alternate dimension or some shit, and you go fight, that you go through a dungeon. At one point you fight Swin, you kick his ass, and I guess that felt nice, because at this point I just hated him for making me go through all this bullshit. And then you get to the end, and you... The Garden Master's backstory is amazing. I don't know if it's good, but it's amazing. So his backstory is, as Nadia says, he's not her brother. He is a Calvardian revolutionary who lived in the time of like Sheena and Aramis, named like Augusti. I'm sorry, I just can't help but fucking think of Willy Wonka. Like, he took real good care of this August kid. So August was one of their companions. But after the war, he started getting some crazy ideas. And they're like, hey, you know, he's actually kind of nuts. So he was executed for being a traitor. His malice and his hatred was so intense that he essentially existed in hell, I guess? So I guess in Gehenna, as this like malevolent entity. And because the DG cult exists, their research into demons and shit essentially turned him into a demon. And then Melchior in secret, because Sherdog was working on like he's basically part of the cult. I could believe this. Was trying to make like a perfect vessel for that demon. And they decided that the Ace of Swords, which is Swin's former partner and Nadia's brother, is a perfect idea of that. So they made a shard body, so a simulacrum, a homunculus, of him to put that soul into. So that's what you're fighting. I give it points for creativity. I'll give it that. Here's my problem. Once he started explaining who he was, my brain went, is he Aramis? Like the guy that they've talked about, like he's this absolutely beloved figure in Calvardian history. The school that they go to is named after him. It's like he is this really cool fucking guy. Am I about to fight him? Is he a piece of shit? Am I fighting Sheena, who's like in a male body, and she's gonna be like, yeah, I gave my life. I fought. I killed for my nation. I built it on all of these ideals. But I see what it's become now, and I am disheartened. This is not what I fought for. This is not what my comrades died for. I know what Gramhard is planning, and I can't let that happen. I am going to incite revolution once again. That sounds fucking... Who the fuck is this August dude? What? I don't give a shit. Think of it like this, to use a real world example. Let's say it's a game that's taking place in America. And this dude is talking to you. It's like, I am a father of the American Revolution. You know, like, oh, we fought, we died, we killed, blah, 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 to make a nation. And the nation is not what I thought. And you're thinking to yourself, am I about to fucking fight George Washington? I'm like, bro, that's fucking crazy. I'm about to fight G-dubs. How many presidents have we had? G-dub, George Washington, then George W. Bush. I mean, Bush, that's JB. Why am I saying J? I mean G. I'm sorry. That's G. It might just be George Washington, and then, you know, the Bushes because of the W initial. But, anyways. Sorry. I know I'm, like, really passionate rant, and then, like, wait, hold on a second. I'm thinking about, okay, now let me go back to the rant. Like, it doesn't work super well. But, like, imagine, like, you're hearing this, you're like, dude, I'm about to fight George Washington. This is nuts. This is insane. But it's kind of cool. And then it said, he's like, it's me, Patrick Henry. And you go, what? Like, I know who Patrick Henry is. You know, give me liberty or give me death. You know, they talked to the revolution. You had the sword, the pen, and the tongue. And the sword was Washington, and the pen was Jefferson, and then the tongue was Patrick Henry. Like, he was important, but I mean, you were kind of cooking when I thought it was George Washington. Like, I gave a shit. That's a big deal. That's a big name. This one, like, that's kind of a big name, but, like, okay. Especially because I'm not from Calvard. It's a fictional country. Like, if this is a country, I'm like, dude, I know a lot. Here's an example. When you find out that Osborn is the reincarnation of Dreykels, it holds a lot of weight. Because throughout the Cold Steel games, they've talked about him. How he was this great warrior, he was this great emperor, he was the founder of... Was he the founder of Thor's, or was he just like an early grudge? I think he was the founder of Thor's. But it's like he founded the school that like you've been going to. His reputation is this great emperor, and then you find out in Cold Steel 2, like, he won this, like, he won that War of the Lions and shit, and now it's like, oh shit, he was a Divine Knight wielder. Like, dude, I thought Reen was his reincarnation. I was like, what the fuck? It's Osborn. Osborn? You mean the dude we're gonna be fighting is the reincarnation of, like, the great emperor? Oh, that's bad. That's cool. That's bad. It's a name that in universe, with what I have been presented, holds so much weight. This August dude, I don't know who the fuck that is. He's just some asshole. And before this, that's what the Garden Master is. He's just some asshole. Yes, he has this connection to Swin and Nadia, but they don't really do anything with it aside from Swin betraying you. It's like, again, do we see Nadia struggling with the fact that my brother is doing all of this shit? No, because she's not in it. Do we see her struggling with the fact that Swin betrayed me and I don't really know what the fuck to do? No, because she's not in this chapter. Does the Garden Master have like this great presence? Like when he shows up or even when he's not around, you're like, dude, like, we're gonna have to deal with this guy and it's fucking awful. No. Does he have a lot of charisma? No. Like, I don't think he's very cool. I don't think he's very entertaining. He feels like a nothing burger. Does he have anything to do with Ouroboros and their plans? No. Does he have anything to do with Gramhart and his plans? No. Is he following really up on anything in the last game? Sure, because of the 8th Genesis, but he dead ass feels like filler. And this entire chapter feels like filler. And the fact that I fight him and the Red Grendel at the same time, and they're supposed to be able to S-break, but we kicked their asses so thoroughly, they didn't even have a chance to S-break, was satisfying as hell. Do I have anything else to say about chapter 3? No. So one last break. Then I'm going to talk about the finale. And then probably just a few other observations that I had, which generally are pretty positive. Like, let me say that. There's going to be some goodness back in the review. I want to end it on a positive note. Let me take one last break. And now we come to the finale, which, like I said, school festival. I love school festivals. Like, in basically any anime, any video game, that shit just does it for me. So I had a good time. I got to play a lot more one-on-one basketball. Actually, it was like, with the teams, I was like, all right, I basically get 2 for the price of 1. I will say I was disappointed, because one of the people you can play basketball with is Yume, the little girl. And I was like, dude, I'm actually going to get to play as the little girl and just drain threes. That's fucking great. It's like, dude, is she going to jump up and block shots? Yes, you don't play as her. You just play as Van twice. I'm like, that's disappointing. That would have been so fucking funny. Like, being able to do it as Fairy is one thing. If I could do it as her, that would have been just 10 out of 10. Like, peak fucking comedy. But it is what it is. Like, I'm not going to be, like, mad at the game for that. When you go to the festival, essentially, like, the whole crew breaks off, and you're given a choice between who do you want to hang out at the festival with? Elaine or Anyas, and you can switch between them. It's fine. It's kind of like in Xenoblade 2. It's like, what do you want to call the sword, Pyra or Mithra? It doesn't really change anything. I picked Elaine because I really, really like the relationship between Van and Elaine. I'm like, I like the friendship and like the business relationship between Van and Anyas. I love Anyas' development in the first game, how she goes from just the very innocent, naive rich girl into like, no, by the end of the game, she's a fucking Spriggan. It's great. This character is fantastic. But Van has so much good chemistry with Elaine. I'm like, I can tell it's not just she still has feelings for him. Like the way he interacts with Anyas, it's very clear. It's like, you're my friend. You are my business partner. You mean nothing to me romantically. No offense, but you don't. With Elaine, it's like, you can tell there's still a lot of shit going on there. There is a slew of connect events, and they were basically all pretty fucking okay, maybe not all of them, but we're gonna go over them one at a time. So the first one is Anyas, which is why I can't say that they're all great, because I love it and I hate it. So the reason I love it is she takes Van to Treon Tower, but she takes her to the tower and talks about how, like, the reason, like, I wanted to go to Aramis is that's where my parents met. The reason this spot is so important to me is, like, this is where my dad proposed. And, you know, my mom has told me about it, how, you know, he was flustered the whole time. He was super embarrassed. She's like, I can't imagine my dad like that. Van's like, dude, I can't either. That's crazy. And she's like, this spot is important to me. And it's, you know, like, I get to see the whole city from here. It's a great view, but it has that emotional connection. And I mean, my parents are 8 years apart, and I mean, that wasn't an issue for them. And I mean, I've always wanted to take a guy here that I really care about. And maybe if he feels that way about me, and we're 8 years apart, it doesn't matter to him, and we could. And it's just like, Falcom, stop trying to make this a thing. I love Anyas, I love Van, but I don't love this ship. And a lot of it is because it's not just like there's an 8-year difference. It's like he's a full-fledged, like, living on his own adult, and she's in high school. He's like, I don't want to do anything with a high schooler. That's fucking weird. And not even in the, like, well, I mean, she's gonna graduate soon. You're like, no, like, it's weird. And he already has something with Elaine that's, like, perfectly set up and being perfectly executed. Why are you trying to still be like, wink, wink? I mean, it didn't affect your parents that they were 8 years apart. I mean, come on. Like, no, let's not come up. Like, actually, let's come off. Like, I don't like what they were going for, so I didn't really like it. And speaking of weird ones, you've got Rosette's, where, so since her thing, she's like, you know, I've never really had a normal life, kind of like with Swan and Nadia. I was like, I don't have a normal body. I didn't get the school experience. So Mirabelle, who I don't think I brought up, and I don't remember if she was in the first game, but she's really fucking cool. I like her a lot. She's like, I'm going to do you a solid and do some shit with the garden where you get to experience being in school, and Van is your teacher, and Rosette is now, like, in a school uniform, but she's, like, several years younger, and she's like, oh, I'm, like, in a 14-year-old's body, and now I have, like, 14-year-old's emotions when I'm looking at Van Sensei. Like, what the fuck are we doing? Now, I will say, seeing Van, like, given his Gintoki personality, and I think he was even wearing glasses, I'm like, oh, this is some, like, Ginpunch Sensei, and, like, that made me happy because it made me think of Gintama. And the idea of Van and Rosette just chilling, he's like, I want to do something nice for my friend. That's great. But they just had to make it weird where she's like, this body feels this way about Van. Oh man, this must be how Anyas feels whenever she looks at Van. I'm like, well, why did you have to make it weird? Why did you do that? Come on. You get Fairy, who it finishes her character arc, and I'm like, okay, so I gave Azure a lot of shit for finishing character arcs in bonding events. I didn't feel as annoyed here, but it still kind of annoyed me. I don't think it's as bad, because A, in Azure, it's a hidden mechanic. Here it's, no, like, pick the events you want to watch. In Azure, you can only see one. Here it's, you have enough points to see all but one, and then, like, go see an extra scene that's not out of the way to see it all, and then you get the last point to see the last thing. It's like, you can see them all, no problem. I wish it was actually integrated into the story. Maybe for Fairy's arc in Chapter 3, you could have finished her arc there, and then, like, it could have really worked. But essentially, it's, she does a mission, she has a chance to kill somebody, says, I'm not gonna kill him. I'm gonna make a wish he was dead, but I'm not actually gonna kill him, because that's just not how I want to do things. I want to be a warrior still, but I have my own lines that I won't cross. And it's like, she's now 14, which means essentially, like, she's an adult now in their, like, in their tribe. And she has this, basically, like, this kind of graduation ceremony with Van. And I'm like, I love this. This is so sweet. Like, you know, Estelle had Ren. Lloyd had Kia. Reen has the Gummid Ball. C has Lapis. Kevin didn't have, I guess Kevin has Ria's, but she's not a kid, but, you know, I guess he still has a girl that he looks after in a sense. And Van has Fairy. And it's great. It's just pleasant. And you know what? Fairy isn't attracted to him. There is nothing in their relationship that implies that she has, like, any romantic or sexual feelings. Thank you. It's not weird. And I don't like that I have to point that out and say good job given with the fucking bullshit they pulled with Altina and Cold Steel 4. I hated that. Hated implies that it's past tense. I still hate it. But Fairy's is really good. Aaron's is he gets reunited with his shitty deadbeat dad, and I think it's pretty good. It's the kind of thing where I'm like, it's not like Fairy's where I'm like, this needed to be part of the main story because of how integral it is, but I think it's still good. 4's event is you find out he's a VTuber. And the VTuber persona is, I don't remember what he named her, but it is female version of him. And as he even says, he's like, this is me exploring my feminine side and my feminine qualities. Because, you know, I do have both parts. I'm like, I feel like I'm male. And I'm attracted to women, although there are some guys that I'm attracted to. I'm like, do you want to fuck Van too? Like, come on, why are we doing this? Elaine is enough. Agnes, I think, is overkill enough. Like, why do we keep doing this? Come on. But the idea of him exploring his gender in that way, I actually think is really interesting. Now, my understanding of the character, like I said earlier, is that he still primarily identifies as male, which is why I still use the male pronouns. But this was the moment where I was like, okay, like, it is that he is male, and then this is kind of his female side. But I thought it was really interesting. I liked it quite a bit. There's one with Elaine, where essentially you go, like, save a wedding, and then Elaine catches the bouquet. And again, this is why Elaine is the better pick. Because when Agnes is kind of like, hey, I mean, like, my parents were years apart, and I mean, he brought her here and proposed. I mean, come on, Van. Van's like, no, like, you're my friend and everything, but no. Elaine catches that bouquet and looks at him and kind of gives him the look. He gave her the look back, like, I know what you're thinking, and I kind of agree. That's like, he gave her kind of that look of, like, the time's not right because there's a lot of shit going on. But we both know that we both feel this way. Like, it's great. There's one with Kincaid where he's just like, dude, I was gonna, I have a bunch of friends online that love music, and we were gonna have a jam session, but everybody canceled, but I've already rented out the place. Do you want to come with me? And we can just, like, hang out. And Van's like, fucking sure, dog. So he drives his nice-ass car. You go there. You're having a jam session. And Van's talking to him after, and he's like, he makes, like, a couple jokes about his, like, Kincaid's girlfriend, who doesn't really say anything. He's like, oh, did she break up with you? Yeah, you know, it's something that happens. It's rough, but, you know, it kind of is what it is. And, like, and then Van's like, all right, we're going to keep jamming then, man. Like, I got your back. And I was like, I love that. It's like, it's a nice bro moment between the two of them. There's one with Swin and Nadia, which is like, we're going to leave pretty soon and graduate being Spriggans. So they have, like, a request off to see who can do more. And essentially, Van kind of gave them an extra one, and they beat him by one. Like, it's all right. Again, at this point, I'm like, I fucking hate you, Swin. He was never in my party after this. And I mean, Nadia wasn't either, just because I'm like, dude, I've already been, like, fucking with everybody's setups for the last 20 hours. I don't need you fucking up anymore either. I'm sorry. Judith. I knew I was forgetting a character, because I'm saving Ren's, because hers is the best one, no fucking question. It was amazing. I'm saving it for last. Judith's was... she's having trouble with her transformation, and she can't untransform out of Grimcats. And, like, she just kind of gets to hang out with Van for a while. She's getting clowned on because poor Judith. Although the slut-shaming from Kuro 1, at least that translation, is not here. And I'm very glad about that, because I think it was a bit much. Or if, like, it's like, maybe in here a tiny bit, but, like, it's like, not nearly as much of a problem as it was in Kuro 1. But, like, Dominique ends up getting called in as, like, you're a fucking idiot. You need to update your equipment. You're about to get schooled. Like, that's like, it's fine. It's kind of cute, I guess. Just want to make sure. Am I forgetting? Oh, there is one I'm forgetting. She's an Us, where she goes flower viewing with Van. And they're checking out the flowers, and then she's checking out Van. She's like, dude, I want to fight you so bad. And so they go into the garden, and they start fighting, and she's like, I want to fight the Grendel. Give me that shit. So he goes Grendel, and then they're fighting. She's like, okay, you're doing good, but you can do better. You gotta give me what I want. I'm not yet satisfied. And then he goes like, and then she goes, okay, spirit unification, because she can fucking do that. There's literally a scene where Letty is using her thing, like her dust glaive that was given to her by the Grand Master, that could do crazy shit the way like Luve's sword can, that could cut open holes in space-time. And she's gonna, like, sees her do it once, is like, cool, I now know how to do that. I'm like, I believe that you could just look at someone, break the laws of the universe, and say, I can now do it too because I've seen it. You are actually that badass. But she's spirit unifications, which she can't do in-game, because then she would just be, like, she's already a game breaker. It would be, like, the game would just give up at that point. And essentially they overload the system so much that it crashes. Kurogane makes them some food, so they just kind of eat some food, keep their flower viewing, talk about shit, like they talk about Kafai a bit. They talk about her sword style. A couple things they said. They hint that her sword is very unique, like there's something special about it, which I'm like, okay. I want to know what's special about it, because, like, Letty can cut through space-time, and now you can do it, too, and your sword is special. Your sword's not from the Grand Master, is it? Huh. And she talks about, like, the scabbard, and how I think she's like, the scabbard is just made from, like, other weapons and shit that she's taken. I think she said, like, part of Reen's sword, it was part of her scabbard. I'm like, that's sick as fuck. She's like, I can't wait to add the Grendel to this, dude. It's gonna look sick as hell. And Van's like, you're scary, bitch. And it's great. But she talks about her sword, or excuse me, like, her sword style, like the Black God style. And she's like, it's a lot like the 8 Leaves style, but it's still different. There's a darkness to it. Now, of course, there's a part of me that giggles a little bit because I can't hear darkness without thinking of Kingdom Hearts and darkness, darkness, darkness within darkness, or like Darkness of the Unknown, which is such a fucking good final boss theme. I love Darkness of the Unknown. I know I shit on Kingdom Hearts a lot. It comes from a place of love. Even this, it's because I love Trails so much that this game made me so angry, and also because I think the game is just that bad. But getting back to good shit, but I'm like, the other thing it makes me think of is when I think of darkness in a Trails game, I think of a conversation from SC where like, Estelle, you can't become an enforcer because you lack that darkness that we all have. There is shit either that we've done or was done to us, sometimes both, that makes us right for the society. So she's in this one event saying, I've essentially got a magic sword, and I know the person who gives out those kind of weapons, and says, yeah, my style has a certain darkness to it. Just made me go, we don't have a moon enforcer, do we? And like, here we're flower viewing, and we're talking about the moon and shit, and like when you're fighting in the garden, there's the moon in the background, and then like her S-craft, I think it's called Zero Moon Flash, like there's a moon connection. Is she the moon enforcer? Yo, that could happen. That would be nutty. Because I still think Ka-Fi is an Anguis. He is my number one pick to be Leanne's replacement as the 7th Anguis. It's possible he's the 5th, because we know, like, I think nothing about the 5th Anguis. Like, he could be the 5th Anguis, and he could have brought in one of his students to be an enforcer. I also think someone from the church is either an Anguis or I almost said a Dominion, like no shit, is either an Anguis or an enforcer. Like the Hierophant, we don't have one yet. It's like, yeah, the Hierophant being a Dominion would make a lot of fucking sense. Excuse me, I'm assuming it's one of the one of the Dominions we haven't met. I guess there's maybe they'll do something really interesting with Burgard. It's like, that's kind of why he gave his stigma away to Gaius. It was like, yeah, I'm with the society. And I was like, I'm not as confident about that. That could happen. I don't think it's Celis or Rion. I'm assuming it's someone we haven't met yet. Maybe Ein, which would be wild shit. But I'm now on the train of like, I think she's I don't know what number that is, but I think she's going to end up being the Moon Enforcer. And that just makes me giddy. But and then we get Ren's. Ren's Connect event. She's in like the student council office doing shit, and Van's like, Kitty, we're going on a date. And she's like, oh, so forward, but all right, Spriggan, I'll bite. So she hangs out with Van. They have a great time. They're on a Ferris wheel after, and she's like, okay, I'm not stupid. This was not just you coming up to me and being nice. Estelle, Joshua, and Tita promised they were going to be able to make this. Like, they were going to come to the school festival, and they had to cancel. And hey, shit happens. All 3 of them are really fucking busy. I have no ill will. I have no resentment toward them. I get it. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't feeling a little lonely. So let me guess. The 3 of them made a request that you would come and just kind of cheer me up for them. And Van's like, well, you're not entirely right. And he brings up a thing on his phone, and like there's a voicemail, and it's from Estelle, it's from Joshua, it's from Tita. Walter's in it, fucking Letty is in it, I think Rosenberg was in it, and then he's like, yeah, like, they weren't the only ones that made the request, like, there was a fortune teller that put it in it too, and there was like a phantom thief, and I'm like, Blue Blanc and Luciola, like, we're getting more references, because she's everyone's little sister, this is wonderful. And there's another voice, and it's fucking Potter Modders, because Tita was like, okay, if we can find like a copy of Potter Modder's like brain, like his body is fucked up beyond all measure, but like maybe we can turn him into a hollow core. So essentially, I don't know exactly, I don't know if it's like she reached out to Rosenberg. I think it's like she kind of reached out to Rosenberg, who reached out to Ouroboros, and like between Ouroboros, Rosenberg, and the ZCF, all 3 factions were like, we are working together 100% on this to make this little girl happy. And she gets a Potter Modder hollow core. And it's wonderful. I know I was saying earlier, there's no consequences. People don't fucking stay dead in this. I won't be surprised to see Luve in a future game. I really wouldn't be. I'll give him this one. I will. That like, I didn't cry, but it was easily the most emotional I got in the entire game. I was like, man, this is like Shades of Crossbow, where the part that gets me super fucking emotional is the part with Ren. Though, I can't say that about the entire arc for Kuro, because I cried in Kuro 1. It's either the very end of the intermission or the very start of chapter 5. It was either when Muriel was talking about Dingo, or it was when I saw the backstory of like what happened. I don't remember which, but it was like regarding what happened at the village. I teared up. I was like, Kuro fucking got me. Fuck, this game is good. And then, you know, this one happened. But it's not without its good moments in it. And most of these Connect events, Ren's in particular, is fantastic. Then you get like this like school play performance, and it's pretty cool. And then Van slips out and he's like, all right, I got another notification from C, like what happened at the end of Kuro 1, to go like meet him here. And Nina shows up because she's part of the fucking church and is like the head of Iscariot. She's like, I am the saint of the end. Okay, sure, dog. That's kind of weirdly been built up, actually. I believe that. I also did know that going in, I will say. I'm like, yeah, I can see it. That one's kind of cool. I kind of fuck with that. But Van is like going there to fight C, and they kind of talk he and Nina talk for a bit. Nina is not C. And the rest of the crew show up. They're like, yeah, we can go do this shit and then make it in time for like the end of the play. And like, all right, sure, dog. So then it's time to go do the final dungeon. Now, if you noticed, I didn't say that someone was actively causing trouble. And it's not like, dude, we gotta go do the final dungeon because, like, we gotta go save people. It's like, no, basically, I got a text from someone saying, meet me here, and now there's, like, I have to, like, go through space-time and shit, but, like, hey, I can do this, and then fuck, it's like Mr. Incredible being like, hey, I can stop Bon Voyage, I got time before my wedding. Like, that's how the final dungeon feels. It feels like an afterthought, and, like, nothing's, important or pressing is happening, because that's just kind of how this game is. So you go through a big chunk of the dungeon, and then Elroy and the twins are there. They're not C. They have literally nothing to do with this. They even kind of say, like, we have nothing to do with this. We're just here. And they also bring up a point that, I'm back with Ouroboros. I'm back with the Society. I had to kind of, like, beg on my hands and knees. And the Grand Master gave me a scolding. And it sucks, but it is what it is. But I'm here. So, kiddos, this is your final test. You fight Elroy and the twins. And like I said earlier, fuck that fight. It's amazing. And you beat that. He's like, congratulations. You two are now Enforcer number 20. You're going to share the role. And then Ixtus is like, fuck yeah. Kind of weird that we have to share it, but I'll take it. And then Yolda's like, all right, kill you later. And then they leave. And then Aaron afterwards is like, oh my god, that had literally nothing to do with anything. And I'm like, someone fucking gets it. Like, I'm fighting an Anguis and 2 Enforcers. And I'm like, this has nothing to do with anything. It's a fun fight. It's a memorable fucking fight, but it feels so empty. And even all this shit earlier on the island where it's like, this dude is not an Anguis anymore. And it's like, okay, I want to know what the fuck happened between you and the Grand Master. I want to know, like, what their plan is now. Like, now that you're not part of it, like, do they now need a new 4th Anguis? So, again, it's like, is the position of an Anguis, like, how important is it? Because Weissman was replaced almost immediately by someone with a very similar personality. Is that a consequence, Or what's like, the third Anguis needs to be a piece of shit. So does that mean the fourth Anguis needs to be a criminal? They need to be someone who's like good with poison? They need to be like an unpredictable wildcard asshole? So like with the seventh Anguis? Like with Leanne, is it supposed to be someone who's like really noble? Is it someone who's like a really good fighter? I'm not sure. This is so interesting. No, I'm just back with Ouroboros. Like basically what happened was complete filler and we're going to pretend it didn't happen. Oh. Okay, okay. So then you get to the red grundle, and then they're like, okay, you're C, and the reason you chose the name C is because it's in between D and B, which are your initials, Dingo Brad, and then because it's a shard version of Dingo, and he's like, okay, so what happened was when I died, all of my anger and regrets manifested inside the Red Genesis. And I just chilled there. And from there, I was able to text you about some shit at the end of the first game. And I exist to view the original sin of man and to like judge mankind. And I have to fight you now. And I'm not even like starting shit, but I might be. So, you have to fight me, and then you do. And like I said, I was going to talk about the fight. I'm going to put a quick pin in that. But you do, and then when you beat him, he's like dying and shit, and he's like, hey, they're like, Van's like, yo, do you want me to send a message to Marielle for you? And he's like, no, like, I don't want to drag her down or anything. And then she shows up anyways because someone went to get her. I don't remember who. I want to say it was Letty. Fuck, I have a lot of pins. Mariel ends up showing up, and she gets to say goodbye to Dingo, and everyone gets to say goodbye to Dingo. And I'm like, that's kind of what made his death so impactful, was no one got to say goodbye, and now it feels like it's being cheapened. But I mean, at least he's still dead, so there are still consequences. Thank Adios, but okay, sure. But because when you got all the Genesises back after beating the Garden Master, they've all lost their power, but now they have their power back, and like, cool, that means we can probably still time leap in the next game because there were no limits, and it seems like there's nothing that can stop it. Yay. So let me take these pins out. The Letty pin. There's a line where I don't remember what the context was. I think it was actually in the intermission, where she says to Van, it's something along the lines of, I swear on the name of the Grand Master that, like, we're not gonna fuck with you guys. Like, we are not here to cause trouble. We're here after Elroy and, like, his shit. You have nothing to fear from me and Walter. And they're like, can we trust that? And Ren's like, she swore on the name of the Grand Master. That fucking means something. Like, she is bound to that. I was like, I like that. It was a nice little bit of world building, like lore and shit. Other pin, when Elroy says you two are collectively number 20, he says, that's the third to last number. That means one of two things. One, that's a typo. Because going by the tarot, because we have a number 0 in Campanella. So it feels like number 0, the Fool. So like, okay, we're going through the tarot. It ends at 21, which is the world. So either he said that and it was a typo and it's just like that is the penultimate, or it means there's something after the world and maybe that is supposed to be 0. Like Campanella is not number 0. It's almost like he's 22. Like, I don't know, some shit like that. But it did kind of make me think, who is the world going to be? Because these last few have actually been added in order. Because Shirley is the star, and then after the star is the sun, and that's when we got Cedric, and after that is Judgment, which are the twins. Which implies that all of the other positions are filled and have been filled. Who is the world? I got 2 theories. Number 1 is that it's Campanella. Because a big, like, the narrative of the tarot is that you start as the Fool, and after undergoing the Fool's journey, you become the world. And like a Persona game, you have a Fool persona, and at the end, like when you're doing the endgame cutscene, it becomes super powerful and becomes the one of the world. So, Campanella is gonna do some shit where he goes from the Fool to the world. Or 2, it's going to not be Campanella, but it's going to be someone with a connection to him that he's essentially taking from the fool position and turning them into the world. Who's the one person in the series that has that kind of relationship with Campanella? That would be Gilbert, the character who wants to be an enforcer and keeps working towards it but can't quite crack it. My theory is that Gilbert at one point, maybe Kuro 3, maybe a different game, I don't know, is finally going to rise above his station. And after all the shit that he has gone through in this series, mostly by Campanella's hands, he is going to be like refined in that fire. And it goes, I am the world enforcer. And he's going to be a bad motherfucker. I'm looking forward to that. Now, it might not happen. I could be completely wrong. That's what I think is going to happen. And that sounds like a lot of fun. There's a part of me that's like, Gilbert should always be trash. But there's a part of me that's like, bro, what if he's like the Spot? And it's like the villain going through character development. That'd be pretty sick. But let me talk about the boss fight before I like kind of finish talking about the end of the game. Phase 1 is super like lion looking like Red Grundle. And you fight it normally. And then the fight stops as a turn-based fight and becomes a field battle fight. And then there's a point where you can go back into turn-based, and then it once again becomes a field battle. I like this. It's like, I like the idea of making field combat like, okay, like it's part of the game, so we're using it in the final boss. I think it's an interesting idea. But as I said earlier, I find field combat incredibly boring. So as a result, I'm not like, cool, I have to use the field combat. Oh, this is awesome. I'm like, oh, this kind of sucks. And you can't heal during it like you normally can, where you're like, all right, let me push start and use my arts, and Anyas has Celestial for free. And like, no, you just can't. It just pauses the game. Like, oh, that is stupid. And it also, like, well, this completely takes me out of, like, my rhythm of fighting, and, like, all my buffs are gone, and now that I'm playing it like this, characters have way more damage than they should. Like, this, like, I like it for throwing me off my rhythm. Again, it's like, I think it's an interesting idea. I just didn't like the execution, which, again, is almost kind of this game as a whole, but I'm like, I don't even like the idea for most of it. And then the final boss, where it's like, all right, Red Grundle with a couple droogs. You just start beating his ass. And then he says, fuck this, turn, and then like goes, like punches the ground, and then the fight changes to being specifically Van and Elaine fighting the Red Grundle. And after a few turns, he goes, and it changes to Van, Anyas, Fairy, and Aaron fighting the Demon Ada and the Demon Tycoon from the last game. Then after that, he goes, and it goes to Van, Rosette, Four, and Judith fighting Burgard and Melchior from the last game. And then he goes, and then you start fighting him again at his full health. The final boss fight has filler. It is fight him, and this is the final boss. Now go through these random phases, and now fight phase 1 again. But it's not all the damage you previously did in phase 1 is still here, like he was kind of trying to fuck with you. He was like, no, he's healed, do it again. But now you have a little bit less resources. You get full health and EP and 100 CP at the start of each phase? Thanks? Thanks. Otherwise, this would be like complete ass. But it doesn't do anything. Like, it doesn't make the fight more interesting. I'm just like, you're wasting my time. If it was, he starts off weak and is getting stronger every time, that's how this shit works. That makes sense. If it's, he starts off really strong and you kind of keep beating him and each phase is a little bit easier, that makes sense. Like, there's a narrative flow to the fight both ways. This is just assortment of a random bullshit. And then do the same thing, but you can finish it now. Why did you do this? I don't think I've ever played a game, fought the final boss, and thought, that was filler. I'm impressed more than I'm disappointed, more than I'm upset. I am upset a little. I am a little disappointed, but I am just mostly like, it's a fight that has some substance to it, but is overall filler. It is the perfect encapsulation of this game. I guess I gotta give him credit for that. Then you kill him and like everyone gets to say their goodbye to Dingo and the Genesis's power again, and he's like, oh, by the way, the big event that you needed all the Genesis for, it wasn't this. It's what's ever gonna happen in the next game. So again, this was kind of filler. And then you go back and you see the end of the play and it's a big dance party, and then Rishia shows up out of nowhere and her boobs are bouncing, and I'm like, oh yeah, Rishia's been just like completely waifuized. And then Fee shows up and dancing and her boobs are bouncing, and I'm like, that's weird. That one just feels weird. That was like actually some uncanny valley shit. I'm like, Fee shouldn't have jiggle physics. That's wrong. And then everyone like hangs out by a bonfire, and Yumei's like, I'm gonna dance with Van, and I'm like, oh yeah, Yumei had a connect event. I completely forgot about that. Van is teaching her like how to ride a bike, and I'm like, I love this. This is so precious. Like, I like this friendship that Van has with this family. It's great. She's like, I'm gonna dance with Van. I'm like, you do that, Squirt. And then Shizuna's like, after that, I'm gonna get a dance. And as like a few characters say that, and I deadass thought they're like, I'm gonna dance with Yumei next, and they're all just like humoring the kid. And then and then it was someone, I think it was Fee, was talking to Elaine, and she's like, man, you got some competition now. I was like, oh, they're talking about dancing with Van. That makes way more sense. But, and that's just like how the game ends. It doesn't end on a cliffhanger. I mean, even the first game didn't, which is not inherently a bad thing. It's like, I feel like I know what the next game is going to be. There's going to be some shit. What Ouroboros is actually planning and what Gramhart is actually planning. You know, the shit that made me interested in what this game was going to be. Instead of, we needed to make up some shit for Swin and Nadia to be here, and then give them this, like, really personal antagonist to fight, and then not really focus on their reaction to it. I guess you can say they do for Swin, but I hated what they did with it, and then they just, like, don't with Nadia at all. So I'm like, I like you two. I like one of you two, now I hate the other, and I feel like you didn't really contribute all that much. I do get some good character moments, especially from Fairy. Definitely some for Aaron. Ren always gets good shit. 4 gets a lot, because I felt that 4, like I said, was kind of lacking in the first game. Now I really fucking get it. Let's go! Van doesn't really get much. Anius gets, like, nothing. Judith gets, like, nothing. Rosette, she is a tiny bit. Burgard isn't even in the fucking game. Okay, like, the C mystery of the last game was resolved, which I didn't even know was a mystery. I just thought it was Rufus doing us a solid, so you fix that, I guess. We got the last Genesis. I mean, cool, but at what cost? That's like the only thing of merit that happened. And the Heiyue thing, which I genuinely think is pretty interesting. It wasn't 70 hours interesting. I give this narrative a 1 out of 5 because it wasted my time. It aggressively and consistently wasted my time, and what I got out of it wasn't much. I like the bits that I did, but I sincerely hated the experience it took to get there. So my overall score, 5, 2, 1. That's an 8 out of 15. That's a bad fucking score. Easily the lowest any Trails game has gotten. I think it is just the lowest I've given to any game on the channel. Like I've said, there are some games, especially in September, that I tried to pick up, couldn't get into, and I dropped. If this wasn't a Trails game, a series that I love, I would have dropped it I would have dropped it, no question. If this wasn't a serialized series, where I'm like, I need to know what happens for the next game, no question I would have dropped it. It's like, I felt like my loyalty is what got me burned. And that's frustrating. Like, that hurts. But I said I had some other observations that I wanted to bring up, so I thought I would. One of them was kind of that Gilbert theory. One of them is that she's in a theory and the thing with Kafai. Lila, or maybe it's pronounced Lila, the maid to the mayor of Bose from the Sky Games, she's in this. Like, she runs like a shop. It's like a liberal themed store, and I was like, wait a second, I know you, like, your backstory made me cry. I'm happy you're here. I'm so happy to see that you're doing well. I loved that. I brought up the fact that no Brigard was here. I brought up that there was no follow-up to Graham Hart's plan or Ouroboros' plan. Yeah, actually, I really didn't have many other other notes to add on a positive. It was just, I was really happy to see Lila. That's kind of about it. If you played this game, I hope you liked it. Like, please don't misunderstand. This is my opinion. This is nothing more and nothing less than my opinion. If you liked it, that's great. If you loved it, that's even better. I hope you did. I hope I'm in the minority. I hope most people had a blast playing this game like I did playing the others. Even the ones I complain about. Azure. But I have to be honest with how I felt. And if I can sum up my thoughts in like one final, as conclusory sentence, I was disappointed and my time was wasted. And that is the worst sin this game could have committed.